crime significantly. And that's a matter of, cutting down a tree, adding a bush, changing the interior environment of your house, meaning, what you do with your locks and stuff at what time, etc.
What's your what's your long-term goal with the business? When you want to see this business from 1 to 5 years?
Yes, sir. So 1 year from now, I hope to have sustained and created and sustained a market of clients, both residential and on the small business sector, that basically can vouch for me that I am security minded. I'm educated. I have very vast experience, and basically the first year I just want to create a rapport. I want to create um, a client base that says go to that guy because he is very well rounded and can give you a $250 service for a very competitive price. Meaning, I not that I would severely undersell my competitors, but I give you a better service than what I paid you because of my expertise, because of my education. Year two, I eventually want to expand to physical guard services, meaning I would have educated and trained guards, just like Pinkerton or any other guard service that's out there. Um, in terms of the guard services, my plan is to go to our education systems, not universities, but elementary, middle, and high schools. I'm very passionate about that. Our education system is lacking protection, both internally and externally. Um, that would take a whole day to even discuss because it's that messed up. I don't know if you gentlemen heard, but just 3 days ago, several schools north of here got threat letters from ISIS saying they're going to take out people's kids. The threat is more real now than it has ever been for our education system. And then 5 years from now, I want to have my consulting branch, my physical guard branch, an IT security branch, and then a security education training and education branch, meaning I would simply, that's what that branch would be for, is just to train companies and their personnel on security education. And that covers everything from physical security to IT security in terms of information assurance. I don't know if you have seen my resume, but I was a cybersecurity analyst at the Pentagon while I was there for those 8 months. So my resume, if you haven't seen it, I would ask you to ask Mike to take a look at it. My security acumen is very well rounded. I've done almost everything in the security industry that you can do. Some longer times than other, obviously, but it's very well rounded, and that's another reason why I think I have the ability to take logistics and operations and security and really know how to converge them to give a very holistic security approach.
And what would you do about at Booz Allen versus starting the business where you try to start it while working?
I'm actually leaving Booz Allen at the end of this month because I'm moving back to Tennessee.
Okay.
I live in Northern Virginia still until the end of this month, but I do have a offer from a company back in Tennessee. So my goal is that I would work full time for that company, and in the evening I would market and do things to hopefully get clients on the weekends as kind of like a part time thing, and then hopefully as it progressed and I got more clients, maybe I could scale back my one job to a part time and do both part time to make one full time job, and then have it just a transition to where I can eventually
Good for you.
leave that.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Just last one. These 3 stages you spoke about, consulting, and then guard, security, and then what was the third thing?
There's actually four, sir. Consulting, guard, IT, and training.
These will come in the sequence. First you will start with the consulting, then you talk about or you think about the guard security. Have you know at what point you will switch over? Have you decided that once I have these many customers or this much revenue, then I will switch over?
Yes, sir. I would want to switch over when my annual sales is upwards of 50,000 a year. Then I would add on a very small physical service, two or three, because it's probably going to take me until I get to that point just to convince a school to let me bring some type of security program to it. Um, and then the IT part, I'm still in school myself. I wouldn't start the IT part until I finished my master's degree and got my Security Plus certification. Because as a manager, as a leader, I understand I can't expect you to do a service that I can't do myself. That's just, good management leadership there. I wouldn't do that. So if I had to break it out into years, I would say by year 2, have my physical service. By year 3, 3.5, have my IT service. And then by year 5, have my training and education service, which would then complete my security firm.
Great job.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No, thank you.
It was a pleasure to pitch this to you. I am very upset that one slide wasn't in there. It was actually the one I thought was the best.
No worries. You did a good job explaining it without it.
Yes, sir. So I will exit now, and I'll let Mike know to send in the next person.
So thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you all for your time.
Daughter, that is your picture.
Yes. These I can actually go over that for you real quick. So this picture here is me and my wife. This picture here is me surfing with one leg. I am an amputee due to my service in the Marine Corps. I show everybody this picture. This picture speaks to how anybody can overcome adversity and work through any situation. There's no situation too hard to work through. My wife and daughter, me and my son, and then 2 pictures of me while I was in the Marine Corps.
How old are they?
My son's 7 now, my daughter's 2.
And is your wife from Tennessee as well?
Yes, sir. And actually, her and my kids are back there. They've been back there since August 1st, and so it's been kind of hard being without them. But hope this is going to be good for us in the long run.
Yeah, so that's home.
Yes, sir.
Whereabouts in Tennessee?
The greater Knoxville area.
I have a client right now in Franklin.
That's not too far, actually.
Which is closer to Nashville.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's not completely in Nashville. It's about 2 hours.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have a general idea. Well, good luck to you. That's exciting.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
You did a great job. Good job, though. Good job. Well done.
Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for your time, sir.
Are you going to be keeping the time for us?
Yep.
Okay. So was that okay?
That was a bit long. I came in after he started. I didn't realize he started.
Okay.
That was closer to 20 minutes than 15. If you want me to be a little more strict, I wasn't. Unfortunately,
No, I mean, total start to finish. Should we end it in roughly the right time? Rather, because I don't really care how long the person presents. As long as we.
I think we've got it scheduled for 15 minutes. That was around 20.
Right.
I can let you know when it gets to 15, and then if you want to keep going or cut them off there. Number 2.
So do I need to stand over here and change my slide?
You can if you want to.
Okay.
Start. Sharing so everyone else can see.
So how am I going to
Oh
start
yeah. So you
Go down the screen here.
judge this at whatever level you think, and you'll add up what you end up giving.
And then just space bar to
Okay.
go on through.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I'm Eddie Binder.
I'm Alexia Bryant.
Nice to meet you.
Scott, how
you doing?
are you? How are you? Sure. Alexia, nice to meet you. Are we ready? Okay.
You all set broadcast? Good. Yep.
Okay.
Ready to go when you are.
Good afternoon. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for being here and for being a part of this amazing program. We are so thankful and grateful that Mike brought about this idea and was able to bring this program online. My name is Valencia Bryan. I am the chef and owner of Dream Maker Catering, LLC. A little bit about me. I served 18 years active duty, National Guard, Army Reserve. I deployed to Iraq in 2003. I was recently separated from AGR status in February of 2013. The transition from military to civilian life was not as smooth as I would hope it would be. Putting it shortly, I wasn't ready for that transition. I don't think there's a whole lot that they could have did to prepare us for what we had to transition into. So with that being in mind, the first thing that I decided to do was go ahead and while I start my own business. And the steps that I took toward that was enrolling in culinary school. I wanted to be trained in my field first and then start a business. And one of the hardest things to do was come up with a name. And so I said, It needs to be something catchy. It needs to be something that grasps your attention. And so when I was deployed, my son, who was in his 20s, but at the time was in third, fourth grade, made me a dream catcher. And every deployment that I went on, or every assignment that I was assigned to, I would always take that dream catcher with me. And when I was deployed to Iraq, I didn't realize how sentimental it was, but that was just like having a piece of him there. So I said, well, my son gave me this dream catcher, so now it's up to me to make dreams a reality. So I named my business Dream Maker Catering LLC. So that's how I came up with my name. The chef role is not only to cook, but to create. When I started culinary school, the chef said, when we start with a plate, that's just like an artist's blank canvas. And it's left up to the chef to create a masterpiece. This is one of the trays that we created when I was in culinary school. We have white cheddar cheese, cranberry cheese. We have walnuts, glazed walnuts that we made with the sugar and water glaze. And we have a different variety of cheese. And we also have some vegetable carving there. Have an apple and a kiwi. That's my banner, Dream Makers Catering. We make your dream a reality. And when I got that banner, picked that banner up for Staples, you would have thought that they gave me a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I was so excited because that's a part of me. That's what I want to do. My vision is to make my customers my number one priority, make all of them feel like they're important, regardless of whether they spend $100 on their event or whether they spend $10,000. They're all as equally as important to me. The benefits that my clients have is, like I said, I'm trained. I'm a trained chef. I take pride in my food. I am working out of a commercial kitchen, so I do abide by health department, federal, state rules. I have been inspected twice. I made 100 on my last inspection, thank God for that. And I am ServSafe certified for the next 5 years, so that means that I know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of properly storing and presenting food like it should be to make sure that my clients are safe. Another thing that sets me apart from other business owners is that I know I care. And my I care stands for integrity. You have to have integrity, do the right thing, regardless of whether anyone is looking or not. Take pride in what you do. Make sure that you are presenting a product to your customers that you will want somebody to present to you. Treat your client like you want to be treated. Commitment is to do the very best that I can, always learning to different ways to keen my skills, to constantly improve and strive to be a better business owner. Aspiration is, like I said, the desire to just want to do better, to learn more, to do more, to get better ideas, to question, survey my clients and find out what do you like, what do you don't like, what can I do different? Because feedback from your clients are very important because that's who I'm trying to please. And enthusiasm, always feel excited and let your customer know that it's an honor to serve you because you could have picked any caterer that you want. You didn't have to choose me. So first of all, when you make a decision to come with Dream Makers Catering, and then you've already inspired me and gave me that confidence that I can do what I need to do to make you happy, to bring your vision, your dreams to reality. Industrial at a glance, the revenue last year for the catering field food service was $8.8 billion. 717.6 million of that was profit. Where I'm from, Birmingham, Alabama, it's less than 2% of the industry in Birmingham, Alabama. There's two very high-end caterers in Birmingham that's very competitive. It's Kathy G. She's been featured in Brian's Magazine, Southern Living. She's a very high-end caterer in Birmingham, and I had the honor of working with her while I was in culinary school. We had to do internships and we had to do real-life events. So I had the pleasure of working with her, and she is an awesome caterer. Woodrow Hall is another well-known venue in Birmingham, Alabama. They're currently charging anywhere from $18.95 to $20 a plate per witness, and it is a very high-end venue in Birmingham that also have a lot of catering. In Calera, where I live, my business is in Birmingham. There's only 2 caterers in that area that have less than 5 employees. too. So the catering business field is wide open in Birmingham for me, and I'm excited about that. Target market, that's my target market, brides. 40% of the catering industry were weddings. 40%. That's almost half. And one thing that I know with me being a female is the woman might not have much control of a lot of other things, but she gonna get what she wants for that wedding. One way or another, she gonna get what she wants for that wedding. That's her day, and she gonna get what she wants. So if I can target that market and most of my clients from that market, that's an awesome market. Projected analysts, if you can see, the average wedding cost in Birmingham, Alabama was $22,896. If you look down to venue catering and rentals, can you see that over there?
Yeah.
It's
Click the little hide button on there.
what did I do?
Oh, no, you're good. You see the blue box? It says stop share. Go to
Okay.
the right and it says hide.
Click hide there, yeah.
Just click that.
Okay,
You're good.
but I need to go back
Oh,
one.
just hit the up arrow and it should get you.
Or left. There.
Okay. If you look at the venue catering and rentals, $10,000 of that was spent on the venue, the catering, and the rooms. So if I can get the way I'm projecting this, if 10,000 was spent on the venue, the catering, and the rooms, if 5,000 of that was allocated towards food, and if I spend $2,000 on the cost to prepare that food, I can make a $3,000 profit.
So you're going to focus on food. You're not going to do napkin rentals and
Well, it
flatware.
depends. Some brides want you to set up everything, and some of them have a decorator that come in, and the only thing you have to do is provide the food. So it just depends on what the customer wants. Startup expenses for me, I pay for all of my expenses out of my pocket, out of my savings. I didn't even try to get any funding. In 2010, my father, well, let me go back. 2009, my father was critical ill, and at that time, my husband's mother was critical ill at the same time. I was stationed here at Fort Devens, Massachusetts. I put in for a compassionate reassignment, and he assigned me back to Georgia. That was the closest they can get me to Alabama. During that time, my husband, when I went to Iraq, had a dependency problem, and he relapsed. So from 2010, my father died. Less than 90 days later, my husband came to me and decided that he didn't want to be a part of the military structure anymore. And he just walked up and just left me holding the bag. I had a house in Alabama, a house in Georgia, and I was getting ready to move to Fort Bragg. So needless to say, as an E7 with 17 years in the military, trying to maintain 3 households was, it was very, very stressful. And at some point, I just had to decide either I'm just going to have to throw my hands up and just do what I can do and just try to maintain myself and survive. And so my credit is not the best in the world. So I didn't even attempt to get any kind of funding. So I'm just paying for everything as I go. Mainly what I've spent my money on is, of course, inventories, ingredients that's used to
you're in business now. You're doing.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. My clientele base is not that big yet.
That's
I've
okay.
only had 3 events, but I am in business. I am actually making it happen. Most of my money have been spent on inventory. The health department permit was $270, and you have to renew it every year, and that's $570. I've had to buy equipment. I've had to buy supplies. I've had to buy everything. Now I'm renting a commercial kitchen. I'm sharing it with another business owner, so my rent is $225 a month. Regardless of whether I have any customers, whether I have any clients, it's $225 a month. And in order to sustain that, I am working. I'm working as an IT prep chef at Cheesecake Factory, which is one of the largest restaurants in the food industry. And they recently made the Fortune 500 list, which is the only restaurant to do that. So I've been working there for the last couple of months to help finance my business venture. I've bought some equipment, the shakers and the different tubes that you need to serve the food. So I am up and running. My expenses right now is just more than the money that I've made. Another thing that I've done to satisfy my customers and try to build a customer base, one of the girls that I went to high school with was having a birthday party for her brother. And when we were in culinary school, we were taught to figure out the cost of the recipe first, and then do a 30% markup on that recipe. So the macaroni and cheese recipe that I use is Sweetie Pies. I don't know if any of you all ever watched Sweetie Pies on Netflix. Her macaroni and cheese recipe is amazing, but it costs $26.30 to make a pan that served 25 people. And she wanted enough to feed 50 people. And so she told me she wasn't going to get a check to the third of the month. So what I did, I paid for all the ingredients and let her reimburse me for the ingredients. And I just charged her so much an hour to cook it for her. And I cooked it for her, and she was very happy. So, and that's another way. If I meet with a client and they can't afford the price of my food, or if the markup is too high, I won't just turn them away. I will see if there's any way possible that I can work with them. And if I can, I do. Projected customers analyst, as you can see, I'm not the very best with this Excel spreadsheet and charts. But I figured if I can do January, a lot of people like to get married on New Year's. If I can get 3 clients in January, 2 in February, because sometimes people do like to get married on Valentine's time. I've already had one client to talk to me about possibly doing her wedding for her in February. 3 in March. April and May is a big wedding season. If I can get 2 weddings each in April and May, if I can get 2 or 3 weddings per month within that time span from January to maybe June or July, and if I could profit $3,000 of each one of those events, I can make $57,000. If I can do 2 events within the next 12 months with the money that I've spent right now, I can make up all the money that I spent to start up and be in the black. I will be in the good. Because right now I'm only spending $225 for rent. That's the only overhead that I have. Because the commercial kitchen pay all the utilities. My management, my team, of course, I'm the owner. My daughter nominated herself to be my public relations spokesperson. And my son is also a member of Kappa fraternity. And so they do a lot of advertising for me. They tell their friends about me. My son's friend owned a club. I did a free tasting there. So it's word of mouth. Their friends are supporting me. My family is supporting me, and my friends are too. I don't have any workers because whenever I have an event, I made an agreement with some of the students that I went to school with that since we're all up and trying to get a business started and we don't have any money, if I have an event and I need help, they come help me. If they have an event and they need help, I go help them, and we don't charge each other. So we've done that. I've had them to help me with my event, and I've also helped them with their event.
Just curious, which fraternity is it? Is it Catholic?
It's Capital.
Very well known, very well established.
Fraternity.
Excellent network.
Yeah, it is. And my daughter is also great at decoration, so she would also be able to help me with in the course that I do have to do a decoration. And financial consultant, my brother-in-law is a finance major. He graduated from finance school, and they're living in California. And my sister also started a business, but he is willing to help me with my business plans. If I have any questions about finance, he's been very, very helpful because, of course, I didn't know anything about starting a business. All I know was that I had a passion for it, and it was something that I wanted to try. Fundings need, of course, I need it in order to be very productive and to be able to get my food to the different venues. It would be very helpful if I had a truck. When I got out of the military, I had no idea that I would be running the business, and I bought a little sports car. So that's not good for the catering business. And additional equipment, the chauffeurs that you need when you're serving, when you're hosting a catering event. And of course, depending on what the client requests, flatware, glasses, I would need that type of equipment. But until I do get the funding that I need, I will rent the equipment if it's a request that I provided. I will rent it or else borrow it from one of my classmates because we have done that, also shared equipment. And that's it.
Excellent.
So do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I think you did some great market research. I think you did some great pricing. It's also very smart business how you set up your cost model. I think you realize that you need to keep it low cost to move ahead. So if you were to get the investment, say the money to buy the truck or the other equipment, could you do more? Like, could you, instead of getting 3 clients a month, do you think that could be 4 clients or 5 clients?
Sure. But the one thing that I won't do, and I feel like I owe this to my clients, if there's a job that I don't feel like I'm qualified to do, or I have too many obligations to give them top-notch service, I won't accept that. I would pass it on to one of my classmates. Because I feel like your special occasion is that. It's a special occasion, and once it's gone, you can't get it back. So, but yeah, I would definitely try to do more if I could.
What is your daughter's capability for you in way of marketing? And like, what are you doing marketing wise?
She is Twitter, Facebook. Of course, they're 32 and 34, so they still get out there and do the club scene where they network that way also. So that's how she is marketing for me as of right now.
Have you ever attended any like bridal shows in your area?
I haven't. And I know I have a list of things the owner of the commercial kitchen that I'm working out of, his name is Bob. He sent me a list of venues right before I left coming here that I had discussed with him about going out visiting, introducing myself, taking trips, because that is what I've done in the past. Is when I go and talk to someone about an event, I take trips. That's one of the things. And I also made a contact with one of the ladies that I met through Cheesecake Factory. She is going to, as soon as I get back, take me around and introduce me to the mayor, Midfield, Fairfield, in the Birmingham area, and the commissioners. She says she also know the guys, like when the football teams come in and they cater the food in to feed the football players rather than have them go out to get the food. She also gonna take me and introduce me to those people as well. So I'm making some contacts. I just got to get back and make it happen.
So how many hours a week do you work at Cheesecake Factory?
Anywhere between 40 and 50 hours.
40 to 50.
Yes, sir.
So you got a lot going on.
I do. And right now, because I didn't have any clients, I didn't have any business. I did that one because when I was in the military, I was 42. I was human resources, so I have no experience in the food industry. I graduated August the 10th, and I started Cheesecake Factory August the 2nd. So I need that experience. I need to see how they handle large quantities, and I've actually learned a lot. It's hard work, and another thing that clients don't realize, they don't realize how much tedious time and effort goes into preparing meals, how you have to have the knife cut right and dicing the vegetables and making sure you chop the herbs and you don't destroy them. It's a lot go into it, and I didn't understand it. I thought I knew a lot about cooking until I actually took the culinary course. There's a lot of time and effort going into it. And so that's why they have to get paid for it, because there's a lot of time to go into that. Like that tray that we did, it took us all day to do that. We did.
Excellent.
But I'm enjoying it, so I'm excited about it. Another thing that I want to do once in the near future, within the next year, when I did my externship, I did it at Healthy Connections, which is a business that produced healthy meals, low calories, 1,200, 1,800 calories. And the one thing about that working there that upset me was the chef didn't have any integrity, because if it told them on the menu that they was gonna get a grilled chicken sandwich and you give them diced chicken, how can you make a sandwich out of diced chicken? Cubes. And if it called for fresh strawberries and fresh oranges and you get them tropical fruit out of a bag, the customer wasn't getting what they were paying for. I had a personal problem with that. But it was hard for me to finish my internship there because I knew he didn't have any integrity. and what he was doing. And so hopefully one day when I get my business up and going and get the revenue, that's something that I could possibly do is make healthy meals and have my website set up so fitness centers or any individual that's health conscious and want to eat better can go online and order my meals.
You say that you plan to develop a capability of online ordering.
I don't have it yet, but since I've gone to the school, yes, sir, I sure do.
Let's see, do you have an idea in your mind? Let's say if you got all those customers that you wanted to get, is there a point where you would want to leave Cheesecake Factory and where you would feel confident enough with saying, I'm all in on Dreammaker? If you hit all those customers, could you leave what you're doing now and
Yes.
focus 100%?
I would.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's a good thing to know.
Yes, sir. I
Because,
would.
working as many hours as you are, I mean, if you get those clients and try to do both, it's exhausting.
I know, sir. I know it would be. But yeah, I would definitely get them a notice and make this happen.
Excellent.
Because I said if I'm gonna work and be exhausted, I know I'm gonna do it for myself, and I know I would appreciate it.
Right.
So I definitely would do that. I would give them my notice.
Great. What's your immediate need for the business?
A truck. I don't have a truck to haul my food right now. I'm using my mom SUV. I have a Cambro, which is the storage that you have to keep the food warm in, and I have 2 of those, and that's how I transport my food now. She have an SUV, and I'm using her truck to do that right now. So if I had my own food truck, that would be huge. That would be great.
Now, when you say food truck, I'm sorry, I pictured food truck as in more of a panel truck with you would open up and be able to put inside, or do you mean like a pickup truck?
Since I've been here, I've actually seen I saw a food truck online that was equipped with the 3 sinks, because you have to have 3 sinks, one for wash, rinse, and to sanitize.
Okay.
So you want to cook out of the truck?
If I had to, I could.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Do you think the truck is the bigger need now than creating time and doing the marketing to increase the volume of events that you're doing?
No, I don't think the truck is the bigger. I think that creating the time to do the marketing is more important right now.
Yeah.
And once I do that, then that truck will come.
Right. That's what I think. That's what I was asking you about.
Yes, sir.
I had a chance to go to a bridal show, and there's an old expression in business that volume takes care of a lot of problems. And just seeing the way you present yourself, you're going to be more successful than not. And you'll get to a place where you have too much work for the systems that you have to deliver the work, but you need to get to that place first.
Right.
And then you'll figure it out.
Yes,
If you had to beg, borrow, and do whatever to get a truck, you would.
yes, sir.
But I think if you focused on that, how do you get more events, more people knowing Dreammaker Catering?
Yeah, because you've got a great story. I mean, you're very compelling in how you tell what you can do, how you're going to do it. There's no doubt of your discipline and your integrity. But I agree with Eddie that if you were to focus more on how you get to those shows and get those 3 customers per month, who knows, you might get 5.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have. I think that'd be a good focus for
And
you.
I would definitely keep in touch and let you know, because I am going to reach that goal.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
No doubt about it.
All right.
But to the degree when you have it in and around working 40 to 50 hours a week, it's a suggestion for your consideration. Spend more time now on building up awareness of Dreammaker and those events. Don't worry about trucks yet. Don't worry about, it sounds like you got a nice network that if you got a lot of work, you have a way that you all help each other, which is fantastic.
We talked about this in class. You didn't send me a LinkedIn invitation. Do you have a LinkedIn profile yet?
I do.
Okay.
I will.
I'll be
I
looking
will.
for that. Yeah, I'll be looking for that. A lot of people look at that though when they hear people doing certain things, and I think that'd be a great first step for you too.
And on the sheet here, does it say there's a Facebook page for you? Is that what
No,
it says?
sir, I don't have a Facebook page.
Facebook.com Dreammaker Catering. So Okay, so there's nothing up yet.
No, sir.
Is your daughter, is she capable?
She is.
Okay, do one.
When I was in culinary school, when we used to take pictures of our food,
Yeah.
most of my pictures was on my phone, and I hate to say I lost my phone. I lost a lot of my work.
Yeah.
So I do have some pictures, but we're in the process of doing all of it.
Yeah, get one going. And whatever pictures you have.
The ones I showed you.
Yeah, you know this day and age, right? So if you went to a bridal show and someone was interested and they said, well, how can I learn more about you? You have to have a place you can send
Send them to.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need a big old website, right? If that's the Facebook page, it's fine.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And the LinkedIn too, I think is good as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So a little bit more focus on your marketing. Get more jobs going. It'll stress you out for a little while, but it's better to have too much work and not enough equipment and stuff like that you need than make a big investment, not have the volume.
Right.
And you can't make the payments.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that grasshopper and the ant story, Look at the marketing as an investment. You're planting the seeds and you're going to harvest the benefits later. I've no doubt you'll be successful.
Oh, I
Yeah.
believe it also.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Very pleasure.
Thank you.
I'll be looking for that invitation.
I am. What's that?
Here's my card. I didn't have it in that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You want the next?
I think we got a few minutes, right? A few minutes.
Yeah.
Just the one. Yeah. So balance up Purple Heart.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I saw him walking with a limp. I didn't know what that meant.
He's the one who I was telling you after my class cornered me for an hour. Just the questions, but I mean, very good business questions. He's very intense. He's very, very passionate on what he'll do, and his security background is like top notch.
Yeah, my background all was interesting, but I was not convinced about the feasibility of the initial model that he's going to walk into residences and hospitals with the customers.
Well, have you done this before, Chef? No. Okay, this is what my fourth or fifth year doing. And I talked with Mike about it. And I think that this boot camp is immensely helpful for these people. But there's still a gap. Because what we've seen so far to me in 4 or 5 years is pretty typical. You're kind of watching the presentation. There's a good concept. They're very enthusiastic about how they present it. But it doesn't quite really get grounded in a business plan that you can wrap your head around. So there must be something in the way the content of the week, and they hit him with a lot.
Yeah. We talked about it too, and he might be able to do it this year. But I told him, and we talked about it with him too. I think where they have to bridge the gap is putting a plan in place. So what they talk about here, they can definitely say, okay, step one, day after class, what do I do? And work it through and make sure that that's realistic. I think that plan has got to be the key in terms of them executing. Like that was Valer's question to me when we were meeting one. He said, how do I find customers? It was the same with 2 or 3 other members of the class. They said, okay, your supply chain and operations, how do I get business? And it's, you gotta, the theory and the reality, you gotta have that rubber meeting the road. How you doing? Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Yeah.
Hi,
Sharad.
Ben McDaniel. What was your first name again?
Sharad.
Sharad, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I brought some visual aids to go along with my PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, great.
One of each.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Ben, is this you?
That's me. Okay.
Thank you.
You like me too?
No, I'm going to be bouncing
Okay.
out. Thank you,
Some
though.
Excel, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I found it's been an invaluable tool.
Yeah, good for you. That's great.
The thing about it is, too, my wife knows even better than I do.
Okay. Smart man marry a smart woman.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hit space bar to go on through.
Okay, thank you. Whenever you're ready, I will start.
Go for it. Yep, that's good.
Excellent. My name is Ben McDaniel. I'm the owner of TFR Valuation, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my company. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about value. Value means a lot of things to different people. It can be emotional value, it can be intrinsic value, and you assign it to the objects and people that are in your life. A little story, I used to work for a retail jewelry firm, and I was surrounded by value. The couples would come in, they had value in one another. They would express some of that value by purchasing gifts, making investments in gifts to give to one another for gift giving events or just because. When they buy that article, they're buying more than just a diamond ring or a watch. They're buying an item that they're attaching an emotion to, and they're gifting it to their loved ones. Okay? That's a value that I can't measure. What I can measure is the value of the item itself. What I saw was I would have clients that would come in on occasion, unfortunately, with a piece of paper in one hand and an item in another, and say, Ben, I have a problem. What's going on? I suffered a loss. I lost my diamond ring when I was on vacation. Oh no. Well, did you get another ring? I did, but it's not the ring that I had. You can never replace emotional value. What you can replace, if you have a proper statement of valuation, is the article itself. She had in her hand a statement of replacement cost from another jeweler, and it had a one-liner. Ladies diamond ring, 14 karat yellow gold, 0.98 carat diamond, color, clarity, so on. What it didn't have was the proportions of the diamond, the finish of the band, how it was set, the size of the ring. So unfortunately, the insurance company, based on her policy, which she didn't know what to look for, replaced it with a 14 karat yellow gold diamond ring. It's not the adjuster's fault. It's not the insurance company's fault, and it's not her fault. Unfortunately, she wasn't protected by the person writing the statement, so she suffered another loss on top of her additional loss. That's where I found the hole that's in my market. Divide by zero. There's a lack of qualified appraiser in my area. There are currently 2 people with the CGA certification from Certified Gemologist Appraiser from the American Gem Society in my area, of which I earned that title, which I can only use when I work for an AGS firm, but still it's an accomplishment.
You're in Maine, then?
In Maine, absolutely. A use of improper valuation methods and reports. They're not really using comps. I'm not sure where a lot of these numbers are coming from, but it's not the solid valuation theory. And that can be demonstrated by taking a look at the numbers that are provided on these statements of replacement cost and comparing them to other markets or even other jewelers within the market. There's a wide variation. So there can be some disappointment when you submit that to an insurance company and you don't get your replacement or you don't get the same value. Or they kick it back because there's not enough information, which happens every once in a while. The uniqueness of my product, my reports conform to the USPAP, which is the Uniform Standard of Professional Appraisal Practices. They're of greater quality, which means the descriptions are more complete because I've been trained on how to take these descriptions. And they cover broader scopes. So So you can use it not only to obtain insurance, you can use it for barter, you can use it to submit to the IRS in the resolution of an estate, you can use it for liquidation. So my reports, depending on what value you need, I know how to assign that value. Hello, I'm an expert at this specifically, not everything.
I would have been impressed if it were.
Wouldn't that be nice? I wouldn't be here. Used to obtain insurance, settle estates, determine fair market values for sale and barter. Let's talk about fair market value for a second. There are a lot of appraisers now that have not been trained that are confused by this. This is what you can reasonably expect an item to sell for between a willing buyer and a willing seller in the market it most often sells in. So if you're looking to liquidate something and you need a fair market value, I'm going to look at the liquidation market. I'm not going to look at the auction market. I'm not going to look at the retail market. Those are going to be completely different values. This is a core concept that a lot of people aren't familiar with. My clients, what they're going to gain out of this is authentication of items. Hey, I bought this in New York. What do you think? What's it worth? Well, I'm sorry, that's not a Rolex trademark. That's, a $25 watch, or you really got a good deal on that. Good job. It's the real deal. Obtain insurance in case to protect yourself against a loss, and to submit it to the IRS. I've never had a report kicked back from the IRS, which will happen if it's not written properly. It will also allow my primary client, which are going to be retail jewelry stores and lawyers, to draw more clients because they have an added service that they can provide to their market. I'm also going to be able to educate both the jeweler and the people that are selling the items and the end client, which is going to be the consumer. My report is highly specialized and will afford a greater amount of detail and description and scope. This is my market. This is how I'm going to get a foothold. I'm going to go straight to local jewelers, which I already have two that will use my services, and law firms. Auction houses.
You secured two jeweler relationships
Yes,
already?
I do.
Are you going to tell us more about that coming up?
Absolutely. Yeah. Auction houses and law firms, and the public, direct to the public, between the ages of 23 and 55 with an income around $45,000 and up. Now, these numbers here are based on real world data from the clients that I have served over the past 13 combined years. It's going to be in the state of Maine. It's going to be used to prepare the client for whatever they're getting ready for, whether it's resolution of an estate or selling an item or getting insurance. It's going to protect them because they're going to be informed. They're going to know what they have and what their options are before they leave my presence. And it will also allow them to recover their assets in the event of loss. I've worked in the jewelry industry in Maine for a total of 8 years. While I've been up there, I've been involved in local jeweler networks. And we've got a great little community of jewelers, and we talk back and forth, and we talk about value, and we share information. So we all know each other pretty well, and they turn away business. They don't have enough time to do some of the appraisals. So what they need is to either train somebody in their own company, which is going to cost them around $45,000 to do that, or they need to bring an outside trusted source. So by building these relationships, I've become a trusted source. I still get calls for opinions. They don't share any client information or anything, just item information. Where would I find the value on this? Where would I go to look for this? And generally, I have the answer, and if I don't, I can send them to the next person who does. My competitive strategy. I'm going to offer my services to both the jewelry industry and directly to clients. I'm going to compete through low quantity, high cost, high quality reports. So there are other firms, larger firms that offer the smaller, less descriptive reports at a very low cost, and they just kind of blast them out. And that's kind of what's getting the industry into trouble.
Like what? Like at what price? Like what?
they may offer it for $20 additional onto the sale of the item.
Your fee?
My fee, well, I'm gonna have two different sets of fees. One's gonna be a retail structure and one's gonna be a business-to-business structure.
Is that coming up too?
It's coming up, absolutely. Some key trends and critical to my success. The trend should be clients are gonna benefit from the value of my service. And clients talk, and referral clients are the best kind of clients. Also, they're hoping that there are no major changes to the USPAP. It's reviewed every 2 years and changes are made. And I go to a 7-hour course to update me on those changes. Every once in a while, they'll add an additional qualification that's required for certain reports. And in that case, I need to go out and obtain that education and make that happen. My marketing vision. I'm going to let the experts refer an expert. So these jewelers that have already obtained the trust and confidence of their clients will refer me. So I'm going to, through their relationship with the client, I'll get to build my own. Sales methods and marketing tactics. I'm going to use relationship selling, selling myself to the venue, and then I'm going to allow the venue to sell me. I'm going to piggyback on the existing marketing of the retail clients. There is a cost to that because I'm going to be charging them a business-to-business price for my services. I see that as a fairly decent trade-off because I get to benefit from their marketing. My economic model. In front of you, you'll see my sheets. This is a conservative estimate on based on number of appraisals I can receive in a month, payroll for 2 people, my membership to valuation services. But I've noticed that over, I was reporting for about 5 years. I wanted to know how many appraisals I was running a year and how much time during my other duties as a manager and as a salesperson that I was spending writing these reports and talking to clients and doing research. The average items per report is 2. Business to business, it's $80 for the first item, and it's $20 for each additional item. Retail direct to client, it's going to be $125 for the first item, and then $50 for each additional item. So the average price per report on a business to business level, because that's what I'm doing for my first year, is going to be $100. My average material cost, so not my variable cost, but the materials that are involved in producing the report, the paper, the photos, the data, and if I do any publishing, it's going to be $15. I do have my fixed and variable costs marked as what they are on the sheet.
So this suggests that from a volume point of view, we're going to go 20, 20, 30, 30, 40, 45, up to 50 a month.
Absolutely. Once we get closer to Christmas, the rest of most of the jewelry stores stop providing this service altogether. That's where I come in heavily. Okay. My break-even point is going to be around the 7-month point.
Are you in business now, Ben, doing this?
I'm not doing this right now. I am in business. I have a completely different venture.
Okay, gotcha.
So if I start in January, it's going to be right around July, and I'll explain where that comes from. Actually, on the second sheet there, you'll see that under startup cost, I need about $9,500, and I'll get to that when I get to finance. My income sheet, which we just discussed, it has my fixed and variable costs. And cash at the end of the year is going to be just over $14,000 after I've paid off the $9,500 that I am attempting to secure for startup tools and equipment. On the balance sheet, which is on the back there, you'll see that I already have $18,050 worth of lab equipment that I've been collecting over the years through personal purchase. So it's just those last little things that I need. The funds required to start the business are $9,500, and that's for 2 pieces of key equipment that I'm going to need in the future. I plan on joining other appraisal associations and getting myself certified as a GEM lab. To do that, I'm going to need a diamond master set, which I use to compare color with diamonds. You know, I can look at something and say it's yellow, I can say it's brown, but I can't necessarily tell you the tone and saturation without a direct comparison. So this is key, and it's a required piece of equipment. Also, a tabletop spectroscope that's going to allow me to identify the nature of the materials that I'm studying more readily and more definitively. I'm going to obtain these funds through crowdfunding, microloans, and sale of personal assets if that's what needs.
Okay. Any chance you could rent any of that equipment? Obviously not.
Can't rent the master set, and I do not know anybody who is renting the spectroscope that I'm looking at right now.
Or leasing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. The spectroscope that I'm looking at actually it plugs right into your USB and it hooks up to a gemological database up in Canada. So I mean, I put the material on and it gives me the spectrum, and I can compare it to the other charts, and it'll tell me exactly what it is.
Okay. And just a follow-up question, because I'm an ops guy, so
Hey.
obviously buying new equipment as opposed to secondhand, use any opportunity to buy any of that.
There is with the Diamond Master set. It's a long and arduous process, and I would not be able to finish it by January. I can buy direct from the public, and I can secure these diamonds and hope that I have the right colors, send them off to the lab for grading. They need to be, SI1 of a specific quality
Right.
of cut, and then they have to be of a specific quality of clarity as well. So there's a little more involved, unfortunately, or man, that would be a great alternative.
Right. Interesting. Thank you.
Management is myself. Again, I'm Benjamin McDaniel. I'm a graduate gemologist. I obtained that certification through the Gemological Institute of America. I have earned the Certified Gemologist Appraiser title through the AGS. I can use that when I am working for an AGS firm, but nowhere else. I also passed the J-Bar. Now, the J-Bar is an ethical watchdog for the jewelry industry. It's run by a judge, and I take a test on ethics, and I take a test on jewelry valuation theory, and I've passed that and have a certificate in that as well. I was a bench jeweler for. I started as an apprentice early on in high school as a silversmith, and then a goldsmith, and then a lapidary. So I'm familiar with construction techniques and tools that are involved, which are important when validating specific eras for jewelry. Look at the tool marks. I know the technology involved in the construction. It can get me closer to a date. And then there's also my wife, Kelly McDaniel. She's going to be an accredited jewelry professional through GIA. She's finishing her last course up this quarter, and she's going to help with running everything. I also have real world experience. Again, like I said, I have 13 combined years in the jewelry industry from manufacture to appraising, and I'm going to apply that to this venture. That's all I have, gentlemen. Do you have any questions of me?
I do. So I think, Eddie, you touched on this. In order for you to hit your revenue numbers,
Yes.
it starts out with 20, ramps up to 50 valuations a month.
That's correct.
What market are you in? Like what town or what area of Maine?
I'm in Brunswick. I plan to travel all over Maine.
Okay. Okay.
I've had clients that have traveled to Maine from as far north as China, Maine, which is
I didn't know there was a China Maine.
Oh, there is. You ever heard of the China Dyna?
No.
Oh yeah.
I guess my question is how that if you add it up, that's a lot of appraisals. Do you have the market to support?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. With your existing relationship with those two jewelers, how many more would you have to expand to be able to hit that? Because
I can hit that with those two jewelers.
Okay.
The volume is high.
So at the end of the year, how many appraisals would you have done by December 2000?
I did not do that math.
But it's really okay. But you could definitely hit it without expanding any kind of networking or marketing. Or
Absolutely.
So did you factor lawyers into that?
I didn't. I didn't have that real world data.
Okay.
I've only done limited amounts of work for lawyers and some expert witness testimony. So that's kind of a new part of the market for me. But I have a little bit of experience, and I know that there's a need.
If you had to make a guess, and we won't hold you to it, is that an extra 10 appraisals per month, you think, once you establish credibility?
I think it's going to grow. I think, yeah, like you said, once I establish credibility with them, it'll grow. It's probably going to start out more like 2 a month and then grow from there.
Got it.
That might be a different age demographic for you, by the way.
You think so?
Could be.
Okay.
From estate plan.
That's a very good point.
This is true. And trusts and that kind of thing.
575, people are starting to think about passing stuff on.
Oh, we have that demographic in Maine.
Yeah, valuing it.
Mm-hmm.
On the jewelers, you say there's quite a bit of volume moving through it. Do you have any idea, Ben, what the average dollar price is of the piece of jewelry that they would be selling to someone where a valuation would make sense?
Yes, and ethically, I need to report to the client whether my evaluation report costs more than the item that's being evaluated.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking that.
Oh, it depends on the right.
So if I'm buying a $100 piece of jewelry,
Yes.
right? It probably doesn't make any sense for me
I'm going to recommend
to
that
hire you.
you not. Yeah, that you
What
not.
is that threshold? price?
Generally, it's right around $500.
500 or more.
Yes.
And how many pieces at 500 or more do you think the two jewelers you're going to partner with are already moving today in a given year?
I can discuss that with you off board if you like.
Let me tell you where I'm going.
Yes, please.
Is could you go to them and could it be a marketing thing for them where you say to them, you know what, just build my $100 fee into every piece that you sell, such that when you sell it, you say what you get with this, dear consumer, is you get the ring and you get quote unquote a free valuation.
Absolutely.
So if it's $1,000 ring, he's going to sell it for $1,100.
Okay. Now, items that are sold are different from items that are brought in. When a jeweler sells an
I'm
item,
with
they're not allowed to appraise the item because they have a stake in it. And if I'm acting as an agent of the jeweler, I cannot appraise it.
you have to be a third party.
Exactly.
Okay. I got you.
So when they bring items in that have been purchased previously, then I can appraise it. But ethically, I have a stake in it. If they want to sell it to the jeweler,
I got you.
I can't appraise it.
Okay.
Or if the jeweler sells it to them, they're not my clients.
So you're the guy that the guys on Pawn Stars call in to.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
that's
Okay. Let
it's
me
true.
call my friend.
I come in. Oh, no, sorry, it's glass.
Okay.
Which happens.
I got you.
How did you get involved with this in the beginning? I'm just curious.
Well, like I said, I apprenticed myself to a silversmith, and I love the bench mechanics of it, and I love the science behind alloying the metals and what temperatures do I need to bring everything to make metal move, and how to put it in its different states, and just fascinated by it. Then I started actually in gemology before I joined the service, and took a break, joined the service, and when I was medically retired, it's the skill that I had to fall back on that I was still passionate about.
What did you mind me asking? What did you do in the military?
I was assigned to 3rd Ranger Battalion down at Fort Benning, Georgia.
So you're a ranger.
Yes,
So you've done some stuff.
of course. Everybody does stuff, but I did some fun stuff.
Like that.
You mentioned you're doing another venture now, or do you have
Yes.
an existing?
I do.
So how much time would you plan on putting towards this? I mean, is this going to be
I'm calculating about 20 hours a week.
in 20 hours a week you can do this?
And that's conservative. I've developed a process. I've been continually refining how I do my research, how I take my measurements, how I take my photographs to streamline my process.
I noticed also you had a line for internet marketing, and I think it came
Yes.
to around $1,500 for the year.
You got it.
Outside of a website, what
Mhm.
were you thinking of? Because
I've been very successful in my other venture with social media marketing.
so what would your strategy be with this?
With social media, once it's going to be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and it's going to be pretty much educational and anecdotal. So telling stories, showing points of interest, showing things of value, asking questions and looking for engagement. What do you think value is? What do you think of this? What would you value it at? What are your questions about insurance? I'm not an insurance expert, but I do know what a client needs to ask their agent when they're writing their their policy. How will I be made whole? What are my options? Is it an actual cash value, or are you going to give me the appraised value? These are things that clients don't necessarily know to ask walking into it, but I can not advise them, but I can educate them.
And I noticed you also had a line item for trade publications, I believe it was that
Yeah,
material supplies trade sheets?
trade sheets. Yeah, it's pricing sheets, market pricing sheets for, well, they're more commodity sheets really now.
Right, just so you know the trends.
Yeah, I know kind of what things are selling at, what the trend is from last month to this month.
Okay. Excellent.
And, you know, and specifically with watches are a funny market. You can have a watch that sold in 1970 for $500 that really kind of flopped, and these days it's a $30,000 watch.
If I could give you one recommendation, so
Please.
with the presentation, I guess I'd made the assumption that you're focusing on gems only.
Oh no, gems and watches. Excuse me.
And watches, okay. Because those, depending on the time, I mean, they come back in style, and like you said, they can be a huge value there. That
Absolutely.
So you have a background then in valuation of watches.
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you.
Who else is doing this in here?
Right now, there are about 4 other people that are providing a level of appraisal that's above the one-liner, yet still not quite as comprehensive as mine. I've got a great working relationship with 2 of them, and one of them is just has a toehold into the state right now. I think they're actually based in Connecticut.
Your USDA, you're gonna do better reporting.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all your USDA.
Yep.
Do you think your competitors are saying the same thing as well when you go to their customers?
I think they know what they know because they know, and they know what they don't know. And they will refer people to me. And if they have a specialty that I don't have, I will refer my clients to them. Because it doesn't do me any good to do my client a disservice, because then I lose a return customer. And if you think about it, each person that I'm appraising an item for, generally insurance companies will tell you to go get an update every 2 years. If they don't tell you, you should call and ask.
It's funny you said that. As you're presenting, I'm realizing that the engagement ring that I gave to my wife
You need an update.
7 years ago
Oh yeah.
has never been updated.
You also need to think about, you know, you may be covered under household goods. You may not be for your homeowner's policy. A lot of people just assume, hey, I'm covered.
Right.
But if you look at the writing of the policy, they only cover $5,000 worth of jewelry. So if you have a loss, you know, a burglary or a fire or something like that, and the value goes above and beyond $5,000, you're gonna have a very hard time recovering that. I also do hypothetical appraisals. So if somebody suffers a loss, they never had an appraisal, based on the information that they bring to me, pictures, you know, old descriptions and that type of thing, I can provide them with an estimated value range that they can use in an attempt to be made whole through their homeowner's insurance. But it's a fight. It's better to go in prepared, protected, and educated.
And I'm sorry, just to ask this again. So your areas of expertise, if a jeweler had to say, I'm going to refer Ben. Ben's great in.
It's going to be estate authentic jewelry, you know, period authentic jewelry,
Okay.
modern jewelry, and watches.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Of course, you are expert in this area with your background. And I'm just trying to figure out why a customer, especially these jewelers or lawyers, will give you this business, not those other 4 people.
Sure. Well, lawyers are not appraisers. They're going to seek out a qualified appraiser. They're going to seek out somebody that they can call upon in court if they need to.
Why not those other 4 people?
They may not have experience. A lot of them will turn away expert witness testimony work because man, you're on the spot. And if you don't know, it's going to be glaringly obvious, and the lawyer is going to know right away. And he's not going to want to put you on the stand, much less pay you your retainer.
Do you think those 4 guys are going to refuse that business?
I'm saying they don't have experience in it, and they have refused it in the past.
And you've done expert witness.
Yes,
How many times?
once.
Scary.
I think we're
It really wasn't that bad. I think the most nerve-wracking part about it was figuring out what I was going to charge.
I think what you're getting at, though, part of it, right, is so your fee is $100.
Yep.
You said some of the other guys are as low as
$100 for a 2-item appraisal on average. If it's just one item, it's 80 for the first and 20 for each additional.
80 to 100.
Yep.
And I think what you said at the beginning was the other guys are more of a high volume, low cost operation.
Not appraisals, statements of replacement costs.
Okay, so it's
One liner,
it's actually a very different offering.
different, but also used to obtain insurance. So when I look at it as competitive because that's an alternative.
Right.
They can buy it, they can get that statement, and they can go and they can get insurance with that. I don't recommend it, but you can. So when I look at it as definite competition. Even if it's just $20, it's an alternative service to mine that they can buy.
Okay, so maybe what Charles getting at is, just make sure you're clear on how you go to market, because at its simplest level, you're 4 to 5 times higher.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Than the other guy. So I need to understand that I'm getting at least 4 to 5 times more value.
In the Northeast, I've looked at other independent appraisers and also appraisers that are attached to luxury jewelry stores, and they charge a fair amount more than I'm even charging. Starts at $150 and goes up from there for a single item. And if it's a more complex item, like a multi-diamond brooch or multi-stone item, they may actually charge you $150 an hour. So,
yeah, the Eddie point, because you would be a premium product, just make sure they understand why.
What the value is and why you need me.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and what you bring to the table. I mean, once you've explained your background and everything else, it's obvious, but the initial perception, you have to just hit it right away.
It needs to give business value to your customer.
Right.
In your case, you're talking about jewelers and lawyers, law firms. They need to see some business value. If their business is doing well with those one-liner reports, why would they go with your more expert report?
I guess the value there would be that you're not going to hurt your customer in the end, which is going to generate goodwill. It's just going to generate good clients and referral clients and return customers.
Right.
Not to mention, you don't have to make that investment into somebody in your own business, that, the education investment, or seeking out and finding somebody on the market and hiring them away so that you have that expert on staff, which can be a considerable investment. I should have, that's something I'll definitely present in the future.
Great.
Thank you,
Well
Ben.
done, Ben.
Thank you very much.
If you don't mind me asking, where did you serve? Where did you have to go?
I was in Fort Benning my entire career, and then I deployed all over the world from Panama, Botswana, Afghanistan, Germany, France. I've been a lot of places. It's been fun.
How long were you in the military?
1997 till 2004, and it was about 7 years, 4 months. Awesome. Thank you very much for your time.
I promised you a card, actually, the last class I promised.
I appreciate it. Let me give you one of mine.
Yeah,
My
you did
other
reach out
venture.
to me on LinkedIn.
I did.
Wait, you did?
I did.
Okay, I had a lot.
I think we're connected now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I make sure of that.
Yeah, we're good. I would have harassed you.
Oh, good. I expect nothing less.
This is a different venture. I do custom etched glass, and I also do organizational jewelry.
Okay.
So I make items so that organizations, fraternal organizations, or alumni associations can sell them to booths.
Got it. I may have some business for you.
Absolutely,
I have some
please.
people looking for this as well.
I also do awards.
Okay.
Thanks, Ben.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
How much time do you
Nice
have?
to
I just
meet you.
want
Thank you very
to
much.
the rest of it.
A few minutes. Go ahead.
afternoon. So we all met. My name is Stephanie Yado, and I'm the owner of Achieving Scholars Educational Center. A little background on me is all I ever wanted to do is teach. So I figured that part out in the second grade. And then as I got older, I kind of followed that path. So by the by 14, I volunteered at a special needs program. By 16, I worked at I interned at Bellevue Hospital. So I worked with children ages K through 12. And when I graduated high school, I worked at Young Adult Institute, which is with mentally disabled adults. I'm a mom of 3, and my oldest child is autistic. Achieving Scholars is currently an after-school program transitioning to be an inclusive childcare program. So do you go to the next one? Okay, so I'll be over here. How did it go? It stopped. Okay. I'm so sorry for the mix-up, but I wanted to start out with this quote, which is programs, not children, have to be ready for inclusion. In our research, we found that most successful inclusive programs view inclusion as a starting point for all children. Now, this quote means a lot to me, which is written by Eileen S. Schwartz, which is another educator. But this quote means a lot to me because what Achieving Scholars want to do is we want to create an innovative approach that decreases the separation between society and the social acceptance of autism. Now, we currently target families that are economically disadvantaged, which means, most of these parents have low to moderate income. And I also work with parents that are in the homeless shelter at this time. I also want to target families as myself that have autistic children. It's very hard for us to find childcare. And there's a lot of parents out there that actually have to quit their jobs and rely on the social services because they're unable to find adequate childcare, and their children have so many therapy appointments that they don't have anybody to take them around to do it. So this is the reason why I'm starting it. And because I'm located in the Bronx and I've been in the Bronx forever, I want to start in the Bronx. And I know that this idea is going to catch on and grow. So from the Bronx, I plan on growing between the 5 boroughs and just keep going from there. Now, what I wanted to talk about today is inclusion childcare is definitely necessary. And the benefits for inclusion childcare doesn't just cover for autistic children, but it covers for all children. Inclusion childcare will be able to help the community and the families also. Not sure if you're aware of it, but the rate of autism is growing every year. From 2013 to 2014, it increased by 30%. So, whereas in 2013, every 1 out of 88 children would be diagnosed with autism, now it's every 1 out of 68 children would be diagnosed with autism. That's just a 1-year span. I wanted to bring about that many people think that autistic children are, for lack of better words, less than, or they're unable to do certain things just because they have a disability, which is not true. Many of them just learn differently. They're able to learn, but they have to learn it in a different way, just like everybody else. And it might take them a lot longer to learn it. My son, this is my son here. He's 7 years old now. That's my oldest. And like I said before, he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 18 months. I like to say that God ordered my steps for him because he's my first child. And I had so much experience with special needs by the time I had him that I knew how to recognize the steps. And the reason why I say God ordered my steps is because I wasn't even supposed to be doing inclusion childcare. I'm supposed to be a high school math teacher. That was my goal. But I stayed in the school system just to get teaching experience, and it guided me to inclusion childcare. The benefits of inclusion childcare. Now, I have pictures here. This is my first annual autism awareness Easter ball that I did at my after school center. And this was actually an inclusion event party where all the children that you see here, some have disabilities and some don't. But you won't know the difference because they're all included, they're all playing, they're all having fun. And the parents were so excited that they kept asking me, what are you going to come up with next? Because it's not many things that they're able to take their child to. Now, I'm located in the Bronx. I have parents coming from Long Island, from Brooklyn, from Queens, from all 5 boroughs just to make it to this one event, which was featured on Channel 12 News throughout the weekend. But the benefits is these children are able to create wider varieties of friendship. They're able to learn from each other. They're able to share their typical daily experiences with each other. They're also able, for children that don't have disabilities, they're able to develop a sensitivity at an earlier age. Inclusion generally starts at 5 or 6 years old when some of the children are mainstreaming, because for autistic children now they have a early intervention center, which they go to from, I want to say 2 to 3 years old, and then they transition over to general ed. So it kind of starts later. I'm trying to start it at the beginning. So by the time they get to school, the children without disabilities are able to create friendship with the children that might have disabilities to prevent the bullying, the making fun of, just things like that. And the main thing also is for the children, all children, to learn values. It's very important. The values that we get as a child, they stay with us through adulthood. Inclusion childcare also helps the community. Now, it allows the families to gain additional income, because now once they have the childcare for their children, they're able to work at this point in time, and they no longer have to rely on social services, which is better for them. I know a parent that have 3 autistic children. She's unable to work because she has to go from this one to this one to that one. She complains all the time. Now, I know my center will start out small, but as it grows, it's definitely going to produce a lot of jobs for the community. And it will create better citizens, because as we know, the children are our future. So if we start with them, we're creating a better society as a whole. Now, in order to begin this program, to start the transition, my startup cost would be $112,000. That is to get a bigger center. That's for the furniture, things like that. I plan on getting the startup cost from my personal funds, from investors, and from loans. The monthly revenue would generate $138,944 per month. The operating cost would be the $138,000. That is based off of the market rate of childcare in New York. So
family would be paying what?
The families that I'm targeting are not going to be paying out of pocket. I'm sorry. The state generally pays for their childcare. That's why I'm targeting moderate to low income families, because the state pays for them now. Like, I had a daycare. I started with the home daycare. The state paid for everything for them, which starts with the center, it starts at $330 a week. For the maximum rate of a special needs child is $338 a week. So this is based off of I plan on having 192 kids enrolled. So that's based off of the rate and the weekly payment plus the whole month.
You said you were going to start small. 192 is not small.
Well, it seems small to me because it's 8 classes of 12 kids. So it's 8 classes of 12 kids. So I have the things written out. I don't remember it in my head, but I have it written out. So, and it's going to be 8 teachers, 8 certified special ed teachers. So that's why the operating cost is so much. The operating cost is $88,450 a month. That includes the staff, which is the special ed teachers and the paras. So I want 3 teachers per room. Also the support, which is admin, assistant director, and myself being the director. The rent, utilities, and the taxes. And after all of that is paid, it will yield a net profit of $50,486 a month. So according to the financials, we are projected to break even in about 4 months, which I find to be really good, because that would help me to start working to expand. So it helps it to expand a lot faster. So in conclusion, I just want to reiterate that it is very vital that inclusion childcare starts now, because there's too many families that I know that are out of work because they have nowhere to put their child right now. It benefits society as a whole, and the sooner it begins, the better. And that's it.
Wow. It's a great concept. Can we sort of peel it back a little bit?
Sure.
So what will be the geographic area that when you first open you'll draw from? Only the Bronx?
Only the Bronx, yes. And the reason why is because I'm already known there. So it's easier for me. I have a lot of connections with the homeless shelters, with the welfare systems there. So right now, as it stands, they already send me children. So it'd be easier.
Because you're doing what right now, Steph?
I did have a residential daycare, which I expanded to an after-school program. I did have
What is
problems.
residential daycare?
Residential is a home daycare. So right out of an apartment,
Okay.
I ran a daycare.
Okay.
Yeah, that yielded about 80,000 a month at that time. That's like
80,000 a month?
I'm sorry, not a month, a year. Sorry, 80,000 a year. Sorry about that. A year to 80,000 in revenue a year, and that was with myself. I had one staff and up to 14 children. So that's the reason why I'm starting in the Bronx. 'Cause I'm already known there. Then I want to expand out.
How long did you do this?
Started in 2007 up until
Apartment, residence.
the residence one. Yeah, from 2007 to 2012 when my last daughter was born, 2012.
5 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So what 192 students, right, or children that's when you're full blown.
Yes, that's when I'm full.
If you were going to start, is there a way to start smaller than that and work your way up?
Absolutely. I was actually thinking of doing a soft launch, which since I have experience with the home daycare, but I didn't target it towards inclusion childcare, so I was thinking of starting it that way just to see how it will work and then move my way up again. That's the way, I mean, that's the only way I can see it, just to kind of test out the market a bit and see how it will work, because I have a lot of feedback from other parents that want it, but I want to test the market and see.
Do you have to be certified in any way, or if you open up a facility like this, does the state require anything of you, or?
The state doesn't require, well, they require the teachers that I hire or the directors that I hire to be certified in what they teach. And that's pretty much it. As long as I have somebody that are certified in it, then I'm able to do it.
All right, so the 192 has how many classes?
The 192 children, it would be 8 classes of 12 kids.
8 or 12.
Yes. So it's actually like 96.
96.
192 from. I was talking with Mike. My numbers are all mixed up. Sorry.
That's right. That's right.
So I want it to be 6 children with special needs, 6 children without.
Okay.
And I want 1 certified special ed teacher, and I want 2 paraprofessionals. They're trained to work with mentally disabled children.
Okay. So if you took that, if you said to start, I'm going to take that from 8 to 3. Just to get started. Therefore, you need a smaller building,
Right.
fewer people. Does the math still work? So that would be 3 times 8 students each. So that's 24 students. Times what? $330 a week.
$330 a week.
So call it plus or minus $1,200 a month.
$1,200 a week, right? Or more. 330 times
330 times 4.
4, right.
1,200 or so a month. Times 24. I guess what I'm suggesting to you, and let these guys ask their questions too. I think your idea is fantastic, and it clearly sounds like you've got a lot of legitimate background to say, you should do this. The way you have your presentation structured right now, it's a very big ask right away. To go from 0 to $112,000 of investment, it's a big road to travel.
Okay.
So is there a way to get started a little bit more modestly, prove it out, and which is essentially what you said. You want to do it once, and then you want to do it
And scale up. So
multiple times. But instead of going right away for 96 kids, we start with 24 kids, and bring your
Bring it
total
up.
and run that. I don't know how long you have to do it. Maybe it could be as fast as 6 months. Say, I get 6 months under my belt. 24 kids, it's going exactly the way I think. Okay, great. I'm ready to expand even more than that.
That's definitely good, and I would take that. I mean, that's easier. All it takes is probably like a three-family house to transform it into a daycare. It'll definitely work because if you start it residentially like I wanted to do it, you have to. They give you a maximum of only 16 kids anyway. So if I scaled it back like that, it'll make it a lot easier. The numbers won't work though because these numbers are based off of a center, which means it would have to be commercial. So commercial is much. They pay much higher. If I do it residentially, they pay it's half off, so it would be about 200 a week per kid instead of 330.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is could you do commercially but smaller to start?
What's the break point?
It depends because if I did it commercially but smaller, I would. It's very hard to find a space like that.
Right, I see.
Yeah.
What about number of kids? I mean, is it over 100 is commercial and under, like, is it?
No, it's based off of the certificate of occupancy, whether it's commercial or not. So,
Okay. Yeah, because near where I live, there was a school that recently opened where it's a Chinese immersion school. So they started out just starting at kindergarten, and then they went kindergarten and first grade, and then kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. And as one class moved up, they added another class of younger kids.
okay.
So within 5 years, they were already at their max capacity, and that was the size they wanted to stay at. So, yeah, and this was again a different place. I mean, real estate, it's up in Hadley, Mass. So you could find a very big building. They just rented it and occupied it gradually. But I imagine real estate for you, kind of hard to find a place that you can expand that in that way.
Can be a little tough, but I'm definitely open to alternatives.
And how did the evening activity you said that you drew from like literally the 5 boroughs and all over? How did those people find out that just?
Oh, okay. The people found out because I linked up with a nonprofit called New York Families for Autistic Children. I linked up with them. I told them that I'm hosting this Easter event and that every child that they invite, I would be donating a portion of the proceeds to them. So they sent out a blast for me, and that's how a lot of families found out.
How many came that night, 7?
Like 100 kids that came through.
Wow.
It was a lot of people.
There was a fee for people to come?
Yeah, for if you have an autistic child, it was just $5 and everybody else was 10. So it wasn't nothing drastic. But we did raise $1,000 and I was able to donate $500 to the organization.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Your current residential center is an inclusive center?
I want to transition it to be inclusive. It's sort of hard for me to make it inclusive because one, I'm not able to afford an additional staff to work one-to-one with the child. So that's why I'm trying to expand so I can get a higher rate for the children and I can afford more people to pay them a lot better.
You'll be able to convince the parents to send their kids to this kind of center?
As far as convincing the parents, yes and no, because both the parents, as far as convincing them, I'm not too sure. I don't think it takes that much convincing, for lack of better words, because I know where my son went, there was a daycare inside, because my son still had to do early intervention. There was a daycare center inside there, and most of the times the parents don't care that it might be a special needs child there alongside with their child, just as long as their child is getting the same amount of attention. So if you can explain to them exactly what's going on, because I'm very upfront with my parents, and I let them know if they're comfortable with it, and if they're not comfortable with it, then don't send your child. If you're comfortable with it, then of course by all means. But I didn't seem to have any problems, because with my son being in the daycare, I had no problems with the other parents there.
Yeah, you are a parent of
Right.
We have gone through this, but parents who do not have experience with such kids, do you have any experience of convincing them to send their kids to such inclusive centers?
No, I don't have any experience of convincing them to send them there.
Evening, the Easter event was an inclusive evening?
It was. And I think the parents that came, they didn't mind that it was for autistic, because I named it the first annual Autism Awareness Ball, and I invited everybody to come out and celebrate. It was in honor of my son and the celebrations of his accomplishments, and I wanted everybody to be able to celebrate their child's accomplishments through autism, and we got a lot of support.
Of the
So,
100, point, of the 100 people that came then,
mhm,
how did it split between children with autism versus?
the children,
Yeah.
it actually was more kids without autism than kids with autism there. So I want to say about 40 children had autism, and the rest were general ed kids.
Okay.
Sending kids to events is different than sending kids to school or daycare.
Sure, but yes, I agree. But if Stephanie had answered, it was 95 autistic kids and 5 normal. I would, at least there's some reason to believe that parents would do it. I love this.
Thank you.
In the market, do you see other inclusive daycare? Like you
No,
mentioned?
no,
So
I
there really
don't.
is no,
No.
no competition, but you have to really educate benefits.
No, but I see these kinds of things for all kinds of different ages.
Oh, yeah.
Organizations that
I think it's great.
Stephanie's not completely out there on her own.
Oh, yeah.
This idea, it's
So I think whatever product you will create out of it, whether it's a school or a daycare or whatever center you create, you need to create some convincing values for all kind of parents. If my kid is going to another daycare, and you tell me that send your kid to this inclusive,
Hmm.
what is the difference? What is the value you're providing? Are you better than the other one? What is your selling point to those parents?
Well, as far as sending them to a general daycare as opposed to an inclusive daycares create more values because it teaches your child to be a lot more understanding. Whereas they're not going to go into shock if they see a child that is sitting by themselves or, or not even just autistic child, but if they see a kid come in with a wheelchair, or they're not going to go into shock. They're going to be exposed to these things before they actually go to school. Whereas a regular daycare can't provide those things. They're not able to, provide those things.
That's number one, very obvious.
Mhm.
But what other?
The curriculum too. I noticed through the special ed curriculum compared to the general ed curriculum, special ed is a lot more visual. And me personally, I'm a visual person. I notice working with children, they're a lot more visual and they catch on a lot faster through the pictures. Everything is breaking down little by little by little, which makes them be able to catch on faster and move up faster. As opposed to the regular daycares where they have circle time, they have this, they have that, but at the same time, it's not broken down for the kid individually. So everything is a little different, but it's still the same. I'm not tailoring it all to autistic children because the main point is for them to blend in with society also and for society to accept them. But so with that being said, I'm sorry, the curriculum for the daycare would still go across the board towards everything. So
That's what you need to add into the states that or maybe enhance more so
um,
that parents are convinced. Apart from that inclusive reason of making their kids familiar with special kids also, there needs to be more value for those parents. That's a good charitable, good human reason that
mhm.
their kids should be familiar with special kids also. But there needs to be more for
Okay.
them to switch over already existing relationship with a school or a service. You need to add some spice, some trigger, or what kicker in.
Kicker. Okay.
I just wanted to jump back to your financials a little bit too. The real estate obviously was the biggest part of it. Have you done research in the market to see is that a common building or did you find a building or how did you come up with those numbers with it?
Luckily, I'm a licensed real estate agent for New York. So, well, I know the rent for where I want my space to be. There's a lot of new buildings popping up in New York. So, where I want my space to be, the rent for the new commercial buildings Storefronts generally run between $5,000 and $8,000 a month. So it's pretty high because I want at least 3 classrooms. At a minimum, like you said, at least 3. I would hope to get 8, but if I get at least 3. But if I wanted a 3 classroom space, that would be like $5,000 a month.
And you're very thin, obviously being in the industry, you know the salaries for the directors and everybody else. It's so you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's definitely good. Again, your consideration. If you can start out a little bit more manageably. If you go for the big thing right away, I guarantee you'll know what your cost basis is. What you don't know yet is will all 96 kids come right away or not? You could be locking yourself into a very high expense base before you absolutely know that the volume of students is there for you. You know, it's great to have a real estate background, so ideally you'd want to sign a lease that's month to month to start with, because what happens if you do 3 classes and it hits like crazy?
Right.
You know, and as little as 120 days into it, you need to expand. But you don't want to be locked into a 3-year lease
exactly.
on the first space. You're going to want to be able to move or have it grow with you. A little smaller, get it going in the way you want it to, prove it out, and then let it go from there. I think will serve you a little bit better.
And to Eddie's point too, it's easier to ask for more money if you can go and say, hey, I've done this now 3 months, and we got maximum occupancy, maxed out our students within 2 weeks. We've done it 3 months. Here's my cost for this. I've got a proven track record. Now I want to go bigger. If you can show that, people will go, okay, she's done it. But now it's, and I don't mean this in a negative way, it's a theory, but if you do it smaller for that period of time and show people the value, and you could say, I broke even after 2 months, and I've got a waiting list. People still want to come in. You don't even have to tell them you only have a maximum number of 45. You can keep taking names and say, hey, maybe it'll open up in 5 months. And then you go to an investor and say, I need a space for 60 kids. I've got the waiting list. They've got the budget. Here's that property. I already scoped it out. You get me the money, you'll get a return in 3 months, and here's why. And I've already done it. People will be going, okay, great. I'll sign that check. So it's more of an evolution of your business, and I think it's more of a realistic growth for you.
Okay.
Because I think all of us will agree. There's no doubt you know what you're doing. You have the background to pull it off, but when you're asking for investment like that, if you have that proven track record, you're definitely going to get much more support. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, plus for you, it's a growth, right? So you're going to take it from a home, right? You've done it in the home. First step, now I'm going to do it as a
commercial,
as a business.
Right.
And then I'm going to take it to a bigger business. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But it's very cool what you're doing.
Thank you.
I can definitely see the value.
How the heck, in the midst of all of this, where did you fit the military into your life?
Funny story. I was starting my first year in college, and a recruiter was on the college campus, and he's like, well, what if I could get you any job that you want? And then that stopped and caught my attention. And we talked about the military because I kind of thought about it back and forth. I just wanted to see if I could pass boot camp. And that's how I ended up joining. I just wanted to join and see how it would go. But I've always wanted to be a teacher. It's just ironic how I ended up in the military.
How long were you in the military?
6 years.
If you don't mind, what did you do?
Warehouse. Automated logistics specialist. I was warehouse. 92 Alpha with the Army. I didn't deploy. I couldn't deploy because of my disability. So when my unit got mobilized, I got sent back. I mobilized with them, but I got sent back. But my unit went to Kuwait and came back. That was back in 03. Yeah.
Wow, you have these things going on, huh?
Yeah. I keep myself busy. Thank you. Wonderful meeting you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you
likewise.
all very
Thank you.
much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
space bar to go through, and you're all set.
So if this goes bad, like we would be on the short end of a.
Yeah, he's not a man you want to have angry at us.
Yeah.
No heckling in this presentation.
I love you. I've learned so much from this class. The problem is I forgot that I was even from Virginia Beach. So from here. Someone asked me for directions, and I was coming out of this building. They asked me where the Civic Center was, and I told them that I didn't know. And then I realized I'm actually from Hartford, and I do know. That's how intense this course has been.
I can imagine you guys have been spending a lot of time doing a lot of good hard work. So.
Anyway, my name is Isaac Wellborn. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm really excited about being here, and so glad that you guys have given us the opportunity to give our pitch. Being in Hartford brings back a lot of memories. One memory I have of being here is I was actually attended Annie Fisher School as a child. And I remember being in the schoolyard, and I was shocked at how much pain that I was causing this overweight kid. I didn't realize that my comments were harsh, and at the expense of getting a laugh, I was causing this person a lot of pain. Later, approximately 7 years later, the tables were turned. In sharp contrast to being the aggressor, I was then getting bullied. It was at Lewis Fox Middle School. This guy told me every day that he was going to beat me up. And for a kid, you know, you say, oh, it's just a little schoolyard fight. But for me, that was terrifying. Instead of concentrating on my work, I was trying to figure out how I was going to get away from going to school. And now today, as a man, I'm complex and kind of confused about how in this society we can have a disabled vet, a homeless disabled vet, which leads me to my mission here. Like I said before, my name is Isaac Wellborn. I'm 5th degree black belt in Okinawa Shorin-ryu in Virginia Beach, Virginia. All of our instructors are CPR and first aid certified. Our style of karate is Okinawa Shorin-ryu Shorinkan, which originated from the Ryukyu Islands of Okinawa. We offer kickboxing, karate, kabuto, which is weapons, self-defense classes for all ages 4 and above. But our main focus is on the nationwide epidemic childhood obesity and the nationwide bullying epidemic. What makes my school stand out is that I'm the only school in Virginia Beach that has a designated free program for individuals with disabilities. Currently, that program is going to benefit individuals with cerebral palsy, with plans in the future to offer a free program for disabled vets to help them fight the obstacles often associated with having a disability. The motto of our school is helping others find the strength within oneself to overcome the obstacles and to gather the strength, the physical strength and the mental strength to overcome the things that they will have to endure being disabled. Obesity. Some of the negative impacts of obesity are psychosocial, neurological, pulmonary, gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, renal, endocrine, and musculoskeletal, which I have to admit, yesterday was the first time I even knew that word existed. But basically, it has to do with fractures in the leg area, problems with the feet, and problems in the elbow area. The next area has some of the negative impacts of my aforementioned childhood obesity. It's depression, lower grades. As I said myself, I was so focused on the fear at hand that I had difficulty studying. Low self-esteem, suicide, and I would bet that we could tie some of this to the violence that now exists in some of the random shooting cases that we have. So this is a situation that we definitely need to take care of as a society. Next slide I have up there is I put the cerebral palsy sign up there because it says that cerebral palsy doesn't mean never walking. It's that many can and many will. Society has this negative perception of some individuals with disabilities, and we kind of kowtow to the fact that they can't accomplish anything. Well, I know that individuals with cerebral palsy can make big changes in society if they get some help, because every year I used to go to this karate camp in Winter Haven, California. I saw these two guys, they probably were about 5 years old. Now I work side by side with those individuals as classmates, not as an instructor, because of the successes that they've had in martial arts. And they're not kicking up here, but I'm 55 years old, neither can I. The other problem, and this burns me up every time I walk around Norfolk and I see a disabled veteran, especially a disabled veteran in a wheelchair. So I believe that my program, offering free support, will do leaps and bounds to help these type of individuals. Like I said before, our mission, which will have a positive effect on some of those changes I just explained to you, will enlighten society through the study and practice of Okinawa and Shonin. My school will reinforce solid character development and give these individuals some positive traits like self-control, self-esteem. And also we will encourage the formation of high personal standards just through working out. Once again, I mentioned this before in my opening, but my school is open to male and female, ages 4 and above, children ages 9 through 13. That's kind of my demographic for those who want to take traditional martial arts. I put in parentheses the bullying, the obesity, the self-esteem, because those are some of the social issues that they have to deal with. Women, typically from the ages of 26 to 50, they're on this cardio kickboxing venue. I also offer a women's self-defense class because some women prefer just to take self-defense instead of taking the traditional karate. And then men in their 40s have been walking in the dojo wanting to work out and shed a few pounds.
When you say walking in the dojo, are you
Yes, sir.
You're in business now.
Yes, sir. I opened my doors in July. I worked out a deal where I got the facility for a year, and I did I got 2 months build out, and I was able with my wife's funds, my funds, to pay the rent, and get individuals in there. I haven't actually sent out the letters and reached out to some of the organizations like Cerebral Palsy and those in the disability to help out our servicemen, but that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm.
But you have students today. You're doing it.
Yes, sir. I had students. I've had students ever since I've been in the military. I've been in the military for 30 years. And I've always had students, but what I never had is overhead. So now I have overhead.
Congratulations.
But I have a finance degree, so I'm pretty sure I can pull this off. I plan on using some of the for-profit funds to facilitate some of the non-profit initiatives that I'd like to do.
Okay.
What do I want to do? What's my market strategy? My market strategy is to network. One day I had a gentleman come in and he was talking to me about Valpac, and it sounded really, really good. He said I can reach 10,000 homes, and then if you pay another $500, I can reach another 10,000 homes. But then I thought about it long and hard, and I probably have 2 packs in my house that I never open up. Every now and then I may open up one, but very seldom do I open them up. I end up putting them in the recycle bin. So I don't think that that's the way for us to advertise, especially when I'm just, starting with my build-up. So I plan on networking, utilizing social media. I'm currently on Facebook. I'm using a Twitter account. I'm using LinkedIn, and I'm now, as a result of, I believe it was your presentation or someone else's presentation, I'm going to use a system that's going to link all of those together so I can reach a larger community. Like I said, the main mission of our facility is to assist the nonprofits. I don't know if I really want to run as a nonprofit organization, but I want to do something to benefit those individuals. I plan on having the grand opening next week, as a matter of fact, on October 18th. So I have a short, inexpensive campaign to bring some people in there. But what I still need to do is reach out to the nonprofits and get them in the building. This is a brief synopsis, very brief, of some of my startup costs. These aren't costs that I need. These are costs that I incurred. And when I say working capital, what I mean is after I paid some of those figures, I had about $2K in there to continue to operate. And I facilitate my shortfall with the proceeds from my GI Bill. So I'm using my GI Bill to give me a certain amount of money for BAH, and I use that towards the rent, and I use the revenues that come in from the dojo to pay the rest of the expenses.
So you've got about $15,000 in it, something like that.
Probably, this is probably modest in the classroom setting, but I probably dumped about $20,000 into this, just to get it open,
Yeah.
And it was exciting. I have to admit, I was like a little kid when incorporated in this amount of my advertising expenses was assigned for $3,500, and for me that was like, you'd have thought it was my birthday when those guys pulled up with the truck and they were about to put the sign up. It was exciting for me. I'm not a millionaire, so for me that was very, very exciting. So. As I said before, the funding that I use for the dojo basically comes from my post 9/11 GI Bill. I have about 2 years and 2 months remaining on that, and by that time I should be going, have enough revenues to continue to my venture. My own personal funds, for the meetings I have with my wife, I should have funds to keep pursuing that. Where will you obtain these funds? Revenues from business and through mentorship. I do want to say that in my area, I have about 10 martial arts schools. One of them, as you know, one of them is in my same organization. So as a professional courtesy, I don't consider that person competition. That's a person that I can get to come in my facility and help me out with the training. That's a person that if he called me on the phone, I'll bring my students over there to support his venture. Meaning he takes, my style is Okinawa Shorin-ryu, but not just because he's in Okinawa Shorin-ryu, but he's in our organization. In Shorin-ryu, they have several different styles. They have Kobayashi, Shobayashi. We're in a style called Kobayashi. My sensei actually lives in Okinawa, and Naha, Okinawa. His name is Shiguru Nagasato. He stepped down. His son, Minoru Sensei, is now head of the organization. So we have these various camps several times a year. There are 4 that we try to make all the time. There's one in D.C., there's one in Arizona. That's the Winter Haven one where I said I met the 2 individuals with cerebral palsy, and there are a couple of others. So we try to support one another for these ventures. So there's a potential for a lot of growth there. So that's my last slide.
What's the significance of the logo? Void, ground, water, fire.
Oh, the fire. That's the ground, water, fire, wind, void. Those are philosophies in the Japanese culture. Water just means that someone knows that they're going to encounter obstacles in their lives, and they have to be mobile. Ground means that they're grounded. The grounded individuals, these individuals usually don't change, but they're grounded. Fire, the same thing. Fire is your will, your goal, your drive. It helps you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish in your life. And void is every now and then you have to do nothing. Bruce Lee used to say that when the situations and circumstances used to become so large in his life that he couldn't handle them, that he would just spend the day doing nothing. So nothing is admitting that you have to take a break to get your thoughts together. That's the significance of those.
So what are you looking to do? What
What do I want?
what's next? Yeah.
What I want? What I want most from you guys, the most valuable asset that you could give me is your mentorship. I'm looking for your mentorship. I believe, and maybe I'm headstrong, I believe that I can facilitate this if I didn't get anything, any financial contribution. I'd love it, don't get me wrong, but I could sustain this organization with just your mentorship. Your mentorship would mean so much to me. If I could have mentorship when we had one of the karate camps or something like that, if I could use your influence to contact some of these nonprofit organizations and let them know that I'm offering you free care for these individuals, I would do it. I mentioned cerebral palsy, but that doesn't mean that I'm opposed to teaching anyone else. I believe if you put a classroom in here and you had 20 autistic people, that I would reach one of them. If I taught them for an hour and all they did was sit like this, I know in my heart that some of them would get some type of understanding and it would help them in their life.
From a business point of view,
Yes, sir.
current. How many students?
Currently, I have about 15 students.
How do they pay you? Is it per class? Are they signing up for a month's worth?
I have a tier program. When I open the doors up, I had to get people in the dojo. So I offer a 3-tier program at $59.95 for individuals 13 and above. It gives them a free uniform, and then I teach them the martial arts. And then for individuals that are between 9 and 13, I have a lower amount, probably about $45. And then for individuals 4 through 9, there's another price point. Once they complete the 5 weeks, then I offer them my program. That's a 3-tier program too. It's $110 for individuals 13 and above. It's $75 the next tier, and then the next lower tier is $55. In addition, I have a program cardio kickboxing. Like I said, there seemed to be more interest. So I had to give the customer what the customer wanted, not what I thought they wanted. So I offered a kickboxing program. I predominantly women in that class. That's $35 a month. They take martial arts twice a week. They work out for an hour. They don't put a belt on. They wear their sweatpants. I generate additional revenue by selling them the equipment, hand wraps, and boxing gloves. Not because they're going to hit each other, but so that they can work out with some weight. So what I didn't mention is the martial arts supplies I sell gain a significant amount of revenue.
Right, so on the first one, so $59.95.
Yes, sir.
I get a uniform. How many lessons with you do I get?
You get 5 weeks worth of training. It means you have the option to come every day that my studio is open, which is 4 days a week. When if I'm on Mondays, I'm in school from 6 to 9. So you have the option to come here 4 days a week at any class that I have. And if you're taking the traditional karate, you can come in for the kickboxing, but it doesn't work vice versa.
Are you the instructor, or do you have others you're paying?
I'm an instructor. I'm training. I should within the next 2 years, I should have two black belts from my school. Now I have people in my organization that own schools that come underneath me. There's a school in Raleigh, and before my grandmother passed away, they were supposed to come to my school with their students, but that's strictly for advertisement. I wouldn't charge them for coming to the dojo. That's just to make sure that everyone in the organization is on the same page. It's like if you spoke Spanish and I spoke Japanese, we'd have to come together every now and then to work on our communication techniques. So,
Okay, just stay with me.
okay.
$59.95 for a uniform and 5 weeks, as much as 4 times a week.
Yes,
That strikes me as
I'm taking a loss.
that's a lot of value.
Yes, I'm taking a loss, but that's a promotional program. I won't run that program forever.
Okay.
I just need that program to close the gap between me and the customer. And instead of investing in Valpac and letting that item sit there, I thought I might be able to create some interest by offering that program, $55.
Do you, in general, let's say if you sell 10 programs like that, do you get free students to go on the higher tier, or?
Well, like I said, this is a startup. I'm just going.
Right.
So I've been open I've been open. I opened my doors in September, and I'm doing some of the proven techniques that I've seen other dojo owners use to close that gap.
Explain a little bit. You said you have students for the last 30 years.
I've had students that I've trained. I've been in the military for 30 years, and came in 1978, and since I've been taking martial arts, if I'm stationed, like in DC area, for example, I had about 10 students while I was stationed on the base. They were military members, and we would go over to the gym, and I would train them and work them throughout our belt system. When we went to a tournament, I took them to tournaments. When we went to karate camps, so that they can enlighten themselves and learn more about martial arts, that's what I did.
That was unofficial friendly training.
It was training where I had a business license to operate, and they signed the lease, releasing the Coast Guard and releasing me from responsibility in the event that they suffered any injuries. So it was, you could say it was friendly, you could say it wasn't. It was a friendly business.
I have a suggestion for you.
Yes.
Um, I like your thought, right,
Mhm.
of trying to create an offering at a price point that
Mhm.
would allow you to get people in to experience your dojo, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you what my initial reaction is.
Okay.
You're giving away too much.
Okay.
I would bring the number of weeks down.
Okay.
Because you gotta, what you want to do is, it's almost like a sampling program,
Okay.
right? You want people to come in because you have a lot of confidence, right? That if I get you in my dojo and I get you to go through a few of my classes, you're going to like this. You're going to like what it does for you physically. You're going to like what it does for you emotionally, all that stuff.
Yes.
5 weeks
It's too much.
is a lot. It's a lot.
Okay.
And how do you give enough that someone comes in and says, "Wow, I'm liking this."
Yeah,
But you think about it. Think how long 5 weeks is.
right.
And how much does the uniform cost you that you give away?
Off that, I can get a uniform for about anywhere between $12 and $15.
All right. For the sake of discussion, I'll take the lower side of it.
Okay.
So $59 minus 12, we're down to $47.
Right.
Now you're going to stretch that $47 over 5 weeks.
Right.
Too long.
Okay.
You need to get them in, get the sampling going, get them liking it, and then convert them.
Right. Right.
Up. Let's go. You need full paying customers.
Okay.
But I like your idea.
Okay.
I like the sampling idea.
Okay.
You're giving a lot away. It's a long period before you start to make the money back.
Okay.
Actually, there was the Weichiru instructor when I first went to his dojo. He offered a month's free classes, but he said you can only come in a total of 8 classes.
Okay.
And at the end of the month, he said, okay, if you sign up for the next 3 months and commit to a belt program,
Mm-hmm.
that's when he threw in the uniform.
I think I'm making the assumption that they're only going to come a couple times a week, and maybe that's what I need to correct about my business model.
You know what you could do is just every time they come in, if they sign in, look at how often they come.
Okay.
And you could make an offer of.
Do you know that? Is there either when someone comes each day, are you or someone someone logging that?
Yes, we do log individuals showing
So
up.
you know how many times Scott came versus how many times I came.
That's because as part of the advancement program, the individual needs to have at least a minimum of 40 hours, and then meet all the other qualifications in order for me to test them. Because for every belt test, there's a belt fee. So,
Cost does not increase if the person comes more often. If in one class if you have 20 students and tomorrow, next day's class you have 50 students, does your cost increase?
so the cost doesn't increase. If an individual is paying $125 a month to train with me, say it's an adult, they would train with me. If they happen to do 40 hours, at the 40 hours, I'd look at that individual skill set, and then I would give them the opportunity to test. When they test, they would pay the test fee, which is probably $45. $45 test fee. The belt probably costs about $359, and they get a certificate that costs me the paper and ink.
How many people generally go through all the belts?
The
Or let me say it different. On average, how many belts does someone go through? 3 or 4?
probably to get to black belt, it's probably 12 belts. 12 belts. You mean how long does the average person
Yeah,
stay?
like do most people see it all the way through, or do they get halfway
No,
through and
no,
say, okay, that's
no.
enough?
No, not everyone sees it all the way through. Parents typically bring their kids between ages of 9 and 13. That's the market I need to concentrate on most. It's probably at the mid-belt level. They come and they train and then they get involved in soccer and anything.
So they've gone through what, 3 or 4 belts?
Right, about 3 or 4 belts. And
So
then
3 or 4 belts times $45 a fee. So that's 4 belts would be $180. And then what is it per belt class is another 125?
125 for belts.
So that's $500 in belt fees. If the average kid does 4 belts,
Mhm.
right? That's $500 in belt fees. It's another, what did I say it was? $180 in. I'm sorry. The training fee is about $500. Belt fee is another $180.
Yes.
So on average, you'd be getting $680 out of somebody. Yeah, you need to be able to get them faster
Okay.
into that. My suggestion is these guys might feel differently.
No, I agree. Once you get on that track,
Right.
and if they're committed, they'll go. They'll
So I like the low entry price.
Okay.
Right? It makes it easy for me to try you out.
Okay.
Because if I go in, I do it twice, and I go home and I just say that was,
Right.
I hated it.
Right.
I don't feel like the consumer I lost too much.
Right.
But if I like it,
Right.
which in your experience, more people than not are going to say to themselves, they really like this.
Right.
I need to get you out of my sampling program and into my money making program faster.
Okay.
You follow?
Yes, sir.
Am I making sense to you?
Perfectly good sense.
Isaac, I want to ask too, how many students do you think you need to break even, and then how many students would you like to have in order to really start to make a profit? Have you looked at it like that?
I've thought about it. I need that number of, I need the documentation to substantiate that. I looked at it during different times and then I tried to get in my head what age group that is. So my goal is to get to 50 students as quickly as possible.
At 50, will you handle all the teaching, or at 50 do you need an instructor with you?
Well, unique way we teach, there are individuals at different tiers. So if I'm starting a martial arts class and I have senior people in the class or people that know that particular kata, then at a certain point, they work with the individual who hasn't learned the kata. I start there, and then another individual works for them. I have some colleagues that I would never go into business with, but he could come. He's available for teaching as well.
And you pay him what, by the hour, by the class?
Pay him the mutual respect that we've always paid each other.
Okay.
So which is
You help
a
each
special
other out.
person, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Isaac, if you were to get investment, if somebody came in and said, I love your idea, I want to help you grow, I want to put money into it, how would you use that money? Like what would be the first 3 things that you would do?
First 3 things I would do would write my letters to the cerebral palsy and well, first thing I would do was talk with the investors about what type of investment it is. And I would put most of my energy into contacting those nonprofits and getting them to facilitate the uniforms and pay for the testing.
How will you spend the money? You're talking to the investors.
Okay.
What do you want to do with that money?
I want to spend the money on any suggested advertising that the investor would have. If maybe the advertiser knows of a venue that I haven't considered, then I would use the money for that and for some of the operating costs. I would use, basically, I think the area I need to concentrate most on, you can let me know if I'm wrong, is in growing the business. So that's what I would do with the funds.
If I can make just a quick recommendation, you've got 15 students. Maybe a great starting point is going back to them and saying, how did you hear about us?
Right.
You know, if it was an advertisement or a recommendation or a friend, if you see 10 people came back and said, you saw your ad in the paper, you know you've got something there. Do you have a website?
I guess I do have a website, and I'm on Twitter as well. And I have a page on LinkedIn. Also, what I failed to mention, and I apologize for that, is I'm a real estate agent with a company called Want Realty. These are two individuals that, like myself, started their own real estate company. So I was one of their first agents. That's also another source of my revenue. But we have a program in place where we get someone to purchase a house, and we offer them one of those packages I talked to you about that I need to tweak. But in that case, they fund that whole package for me. They fund the whole package for me. And I have another gentleman, friend of mine, retired from the military. He said, Isaac, I'm never going to do this martial arts. He studies a lot. But he said, what he did say is that he would fund one child for about 6 months of their martial arts when I find somebody deserving enough to do it.
Great.
The other thing you do on building those scouts idea, off of 15. Another good marketing technique is a referral program.
Yes.
So you could go to each of the 15 and say, I'll give you 1 month free. Yeah, 1 month free for every person you bring in here.
Okay.
Assuming that these 15 are very happy and they enjoyed the class. More times than not, your satisfied customers are very happy to help.
Right.
Each one of them brought 1 to 2. You could be at your 50 students faster than you know.
Right.
Another thing too, just to keep in mind, you've got a great presence and how you tell your story is very, very compelling. Think about going into school. My son's school, they had a dojo that came in, and they had some students, and it was just a half an hour presentation. They went through their katas and did some weapons work, and then they said, here's what you need to do, and they gave them a small lecture on bullying, but also on how to be healthy. And they said, if you're interested, we're going to just leave a brochure. Different schools deal with it differently,
Yeah.
Some will say, look us up in the newspaper. The other ones say you can't give out a brochure. The other ones say put it in the office. But definitely work with schools. It's a way of,
And bullying is
what's huge.
It is a bullying campaign now. Some of my constituents have gotten involved in.
Yeah, I think even in you're within your own association, you can say, hey, we can start this campaign, do this. Even PTOs, we call them parent-teacher organizations. The parents, go to them and say, hey, if you feel your kid's being bullied, come to me and we'll give you a special deal to help them build their own self-confidence, learn how to deal with situations. Because knowing your style, you don't teach how to fight, you teach how to use your resources to manage and control.
Teach how to not fight.
How to not fight, exactly. And that's
if you had to, you could.
Yeah.
That's good word.
As my mom said, never throw the first fight, but if you do have to throw one, make sure it counts. So I'm sure your mom probably said the same thing, right? So, but really look at going into schools. Like I said, you've got a great, what we would call a value proposition. You're teaching values, you're getting them outside, you're getting them being active. I think you could get a lot of students that way as well. And one last thing, there's a dojo in my town. They did this amazing thing where they offered birthday parties, but the kid got to cut the cake with a samurai sword. Never seen it.
Right.
But the teacher actually held his hand because one kid kind of like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah. But that was putting kids through a workout, just doing that. It worked out very well.
That brings to the point that your target age group, what did you say, 9 to 13?
I believe that the 9 to 13 group is the group that's going to continue to rotate in and out. An adult walking in that dojo, especially someone in their late 30s that are taking a traditional program, they usually stick around to about that level.
Not younger than 9?
I take from ages 4 and above. But
I have a 5-year-old
Mhm.
who started with karate program 6-8 months back.
Okay.
Recently got high green belt.
Okay.
But in that class, I noticed there are a lot of younger kids,
Okay.
4, 5, 6-year-olds.
Okay.
I think they will stick around longer because once the kids become a little older, they go to those classes only if they are interested in karate.
That's a good point. So yeah.
But younger kids, it's more of the parents showing them the lifestyle. Yeah, every week, twice you have to go to this class. So they might stick along longer than your older.
That's a good point. I mean, to target those individuals.
Yeah, to his point as well. I see it even with my son's own classes. You have some kids who are good at basketball or baseball or football, but then those kids who may not be good with that, but need something, sometimes their parents send them. You know, my 10-year-old son has a friend who's been studying Taekwondo for 6 years.
Right.
And this kid could not kick a soccer ball if he dropped it on his foot. But you ask him to do a high spinning back heel kick and he'll do it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the younger age though where he committed to it. Being good at it built his self confidence. Couldn't do the other stuff, but this kid, man, nobody messes with him because he had to do that once. So the younger age, really, you will get a certain group of kids who can commit to that. Yeah, and it gives them it built this kid's self confidence up like you would not believe. The fact that, you know, he wasn't a basketball player or a soccer player, but when he said, yeah, you know, I did Shotokan, and that, you know, that was the thing, and it just really helped build him up. So I'd encourage you to look at that as well.
It worked. I've been doing it because it's a labor of love. I was when I retired, I worked as a contractor for 5 years. Financial analyst for the Coast Guard. And 5 years, I would often find myself late going to do the thing that I love to do. So I kind of walked away from that to pursue this mission. So I spent a lot of time in my facility trying to come up with ways to make my business grow. So I'm going to take all of the input I received from you all, and hopefully I could get some mentorship from you as well, and continue to make
And honestly, as on a personal level, it's okay to ask for an investor because you have a idea and a vision that will bring a lot of good in the world. And if you ask for money to make that happen bigger, faster, and quicker, that's a good thing too. You are a very humble man, but I think asking to build that up and getting people who buy into your vision and support it, don't be afraid to ask that question.
Right.
It's a hard thing to do, but really you're doing a good thing. You just, with that money, you might be able to do it quicker.
Well, it's particularly hard because here, when they mentioned that we were talking to investors, they kind of threw a curveball in the direction that I thought we were going. But I've learned, I just want to say, but I've learned from talking with all of you, and I believe that's the most valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Being a true teacher in a practice of martial arts, you will be humble. It's hard to go against that. That becomes your nature. But really, that investment, you could touch so many more lives. So if you look at it as a way to make your dream grow bigger and faster and quicker, don't be afraid to do it. It's not, you know, people won't invest unless they believe in it, see the value. So you would actually be helping them achieve some dreams as well.
Right. But if I remain if I turn my organization to a non-profit organization, if I stay as a for-profit organization, don't I eliminate some of the revenue that I might be able to seek from investors?
No.
How about if an investor gave funds to a non-profit and they would have some difficulty?
Well, you're going to operate as a for-profit.
Yeah, okay. Well, what I meant is, I heard that if investors gave funds to a for-profit company, that they would have difficulty claiming that as a donation because it wasn't a non-profit company.
Investor is not giving you charity.
Okay.
Investor
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I missed that word. Yeah.
Investor is giving you money to get some returns out of it.
Oh, yes.
Just be very clear about that.
Okay. Okay.
Non-profits, you can claim a tax deduction.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but
So-
for profits, we're looking, once you grow and you pay us back, you made us more money than if we put our money in the bank.
Right. I see what you're saying. Not a donation, but an investment. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not looking to write it off for
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
I want to make money off
Right. That was my misconception right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Great.
Excellent.
I
Isaac, great job. Well done.
Oh, thank you so much. I was so nervous.
I couldn't be nervous about it. Excellent. Isaac, much success to you. Excellent job, Isaac.
We'll keep in touch. What did you do in the military?
I started out in service, and then in the Coast Guard took a small
Are you an entrepreneur? Are you struggling to launch your business? Then you will love my website. Hi, my name is Raul Perez, and I'm launching a social network for entrepreneurs, tailored just for entrepreneurs. So, what would this social network be comprised of? Well, basically, very simple. It'll be where you go upload your ideas, your venture ideas, your business plans, your executive summaries, your marketing presentations, along with your credentials. Then you'll be able to create a profile and host all these great resources. And then from there, you'll be able to link with other fellow entrepreneurs, mentors, investors, and so forth in order to get your business launched. So, I know what you'll probably be asking what this social network will be comprised of. Very simple. It starts with ideas. And the idea is basically what you imagine. Let's say you're on the street and you see something and it sparks in your head. Hey, I think that would be a great business. So you could write it down and upload it. They will be able to share with the people that you connect and you trust. And then maybe something comes out of it, maybe something doesn't. If you do develop that idea into maybe a concept, and you look at the financial and you think it's something that is worth launching, then you move to the startup phase, and you can just remove that idea and put it into a new subdirectory. That's the startup. The startup is basically you'll be able to upload your marketing presentation, executive summary, and business plan, and then in order for people to search for it, they'll be able to look at by industry. So let's say that you're thinking about a IT venture. So you put in a subcategory of IT. And then I look and I see, it's going to be a subject of a line. And I see and I look at that and I go, oh, that might be something I've been interested in. So you'll be able to connect with that person if you're not already connected with, and tell them, hey, I'm a mentor or I'm an investor. I would like to further develop the idea with you. Then that person will be able to allow that person to either look at his marketing presentation or executive summary or business plan. But in order to do that, to be able to have a disclosure agreement already developed. So that's what the startup is. Product is basically like crowdfunding. If you have product that you want to create, but you don't have the fund to mass produce them, then you'll be able to push that product in there for people to see if they like it and maybe start getting some funds to start developing that product. Mentors. Mentors will be those that are experts in the industry, and they've been in the industry and are willing to be mentors of those startups. So if I'm starting a legal practice, well, not a legal practice, but let's say advertising agency, and I'm looking for a person that's been in the industry a little longer than me that could mentor me into launching this idea. Then I'll put in on the social network that I'm looking for a mentor in advertising, and then hopefully somebody captures that and then connects with you, and then you could go from there. Then you have troops, which is one of my favorite ones. Troops are individuals that are willing to be part of something. So if I am an IT expert or I am an advertising agent and I have those skills already, and I'm looking to be part of something that probably could be mine, but I don't have any ideas, then you can list your skills here. So let's say for a web designer, you can say, I know these languages, I'm looking to be part of something. Then somebody in the startup phase or in the idea phase could link with the person here and maybe launch something bigger. The asset is basically organizations, it's basically the resources. So if I have a legal practice, I can put in assets. I have a legal practice, I emphasize in startups or I emphasize in any other category. So people in these places can connect with these ones. And investors is basically what it is. People that have money, that are willing to be part of a startup for market shares of that startup. All right. And what is my marketing strategy? I'm going to use two already set of marketing practices, and that's viral and guerrilla marketing. All right. Social network is basically word of mouth. You start sharing ideas, people start connecting, magazines, bloggers start spreading ideas, and the curiosity start working, and that's how I'm going to get people to join this network. Also, I'm going to use programs like this that are basically focused on entrepreneurs to help me spread the word. So I would do that to capture a campaign that would lead me to the market shares of the industry. The demographics is very simple. Anybody in the United States that would like to start something, anybody that's older than 18 and that is not already ready to retire could be basically a possible member of the social network. The market growth. Right now, the industry is revenue is at $8.6 billion. It's expected to grow for the next 5 years at 36%, reaching $40 billion in 2019.
What market, bro? What do you
The social network market.
So social market companies are making this money?
They're right here right now, according to my research. In revenues, no profits, revenues,
So are you talking about like a LinkedIn and
basically.
okay.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
It's something like LinkedIn, but it's not LinkedIn. I believe it's more like LinkedIn, Facebook, basically a little bit of everything. I want to say. I still don't have the product. I don't have a prototype I can show you where you can play with it, but yeah, basically something along those lines. So the segmentation and the market shares. Basically, 40% of the segmentation of this market are bloggers. Only 6% is professional, and 54% is social. Now, the market shares for those segmentations are as follows. Facebook, which is social network, which comprises of 54%, holds 68% of the market shares. LinkedIn, which is only 6%, holds 15.6% of the market shares. And the bloggers, which holds 40% of the market, only have 3.7% of the market shares. So basically my competition will be Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. This is where I predict that my market shares will come from. In order to be successful in this industry, you have to have a relationship with the advertising agency. I wasn't able to get the exact numbers that they get, but I would say over 90% of the revenue they generate is from advertising. And I say this because most of the social networks is free. Mostly only LinkedIn you have to pay a price for a premium access. Otherwise, it's free. So the only thing that led me to that deduction was that if they don't advertise, they don't make money. The only important thing is to have a transparent level of security. You have to have a secure website because people will only trust you if they feel secure. No one will upload the business plan to something that they don't feel secure. So the level of security of that social network has to be very high top notch. Lastly, you have to adapt to new technologies. And what that means is now website was a few years back only on computers. Now we have iPads, iPhones, Google Android phones. So you have to adapt all those websites into apps. Unable to accomplish that, then you will not be able to deliver a good product. And the other two factors is have a skilled workforce and an attractive product. And that's because the social networks are really compromised of people that know how to program software. If you don't have those programmers, then you're not going to have a good product. Just as it is attractive. If you don't have something that sparks attractiveness or curiosity within the market, then nobody's going to visit your product. Fundings. Right now, I'm not looking for any money because I first want to look for a partner to deliver a product. I would like to test this product before I look for finance. And the reason behind that is very simple. I can ask for an investor for money and hire the workforce. However, just because I picture something in my mind, maybe that person can't deliver that product. And unless I have a product that I know I can sell, I'm not going to ask for money from investors. So with that being said, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah. So what your business model you anticipate is going to be advertising support.
So that's where you get your revenue.
That's
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
So,
But at the same time, and this is something that I didn't incorporate, is there's some more things I'm thinking that I can get price from. For instance, I know for a fact, because I asked my classmates in this program, which are entrepreneurs, and I have 30 of them, different backgrounds, if they're willing to invest like $2, $3, $4, $5 to have that presentation in the cloud, and they're willing to pay that because you're paying $60 a year for a possibility of making money out of an idea, where you couldn't do that with having a piece of paper in the shop at home.
So you're thinking then really part of your revenue for your product could be from charging, say, a monthly fee or yearly fee?
It could, but unless I have a product that I can market research on that product for a few months or up to a year, I will not know if charging is a right strategy for that.
well, it's something for you to think about.
Right.
Is some sort of a fee-based approach. If you're going to be advertising driven, you could end up going a very long time before you realize your first dollar in revenue, because you're going to have to reach a threshold number of users that me as the advertiser find valuable enough to pay you to get my product or service in front of them. If you're at 100 users, I'm not interested. If you're at 1,000, I may not still be interested. Follow me? You're gonna have to get to a very high threshold before someone would pay you a meaningful amount of money. So the question for you will be then, well, what am I going to do in between? How will I start to earn money? So whether it's a fee for uploading the plan or something, I think your idea of developing your product concept further is a good one. It makes a lot of sense given where you are in the maturity of your idea at this point. So I like that a lot. My suggestion to you is, as you're thinking about the product, you need to think about what the business model is too. And being purely advertiser supported, my experience with this kind of stuff tells me careful, because it could end up going a very long time before you start to realize any income off of that.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. Market research are not going to pay me for having 500 users. They could have 500 users out of a survey.
Right.
And I'm probably more effective than what I produce. It is why I'm considering charging something, but like I mentioned before, unless I have a product that I know the value of that, I cannot say I'm gonna. And then knowing the value, then comes the question: how much is the right price?
Right. Yep. You're thinking about it the right way. Yep.
I think I will go a little opposite direction. This is the kind of business where you won't see money coming from the consumer for long time. This is a typical IT business. This is all about how many
Is what he does.
Oh, perfect.
how many users you can get into. That's how you will sustain for those 1 year, 5 years till you reach a point where you can monetize this. Will be all through investment. You will keep on going through different rounds and getting money. But I would like to see that second or third slide there. You were showing all the components of this. There was a circle, and there were
Yeah.
investors and all those. There are 100 ways you can make advertisement. I think is going to kill this social media. Investors will pay. If you have good user base in this, you have good data. So there are a lot of entrepreneurs enrolling. Investors will pay some commission, very minimal, but they will pay to get enrolled.
Yeah.
There are troops who can provide some services to these startups. They will pay. But there is a long way to go. But I think this this model will improvise once you start working on it, once you release it to market, then you have to improve. And there is a long way to go till you even think about asking for the money from the startup and these investors will pay you happily as long as you have some good substantial database or they can get some deals going. So if this is a successful site, money will come in. But to make it successful is the problem we have. How to get all these things together, what is the value for a startup guy get in? You need to get mentors, you need to get investors in on the same time.
Basically,
to
a
attract
person,
me and
yeah, group from
start-
each icon, correct?
If I am a startup guy, you don't have any mentors. You cannot ask me to get onto your platform, hoping that at one point you will get some mentors for so how you will balance it out, how you will grow the user base of this, that will survive. There is lot of gaps the way you're saying. That idea is good. I'm sure once you start working on it, you'll find out those gaps.
Just to let you know, Sharad is the CEO of a software company. So this is back. It's like whatever you say. This is his area. Also, just to give you further background, my friend Eddie is actually was one time was named one of the top 10 marketers in the company. Is that what in the country? That was Paul. So he's done work with Dunkin' Donuts, private equity, venture capital, a lot of very well-known people. So in terms of having people who are experts in the area of what you're looking at, you have the software expert plus the marketing expert. So if they tell you the idea is good and what you need to do, I'm just letting you know you have two of the best judges for what you're probably looking at doing. So
It's a decent thought.
Sorry.
It's a decent thought, but it's still a little far for the realistic business model.
So if I were to develop something and enjoy it and how it work, then I'm in a better position. Would I be in a better position?
Yeah.
That's what I'm liking because I don't have the HTML expertise. So that's why I'm looking for a partner. Hopefully somebody that is willing to work on this idea. with me.
Yeah, I don't think what Shiraz's saying is he needs to see the site. What he's saying is I need to understand more about exactly what's going to go on here. How are you going to secure all of them, right? And,
Okay.
What it looks like, he wouldn't care. He's going to trust at some point in time. It's
But my biggest fear with this is that what I envision, I wouldn't be able to get it for somebody that I can pay unless they have a emotional, personal commitment to what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, you need to find somebody who feels as passionate as you feel about this idea. And then that's why they call those seed companies and families and friends.
Right.
But it's a good thought at this point. But if you try to drill into each of these components, everywhere there you find a lot of things. Why would a startup guy come here? You are a startup person. You having a relationship with us face to face here, and then having a relationship socially online that mentor sitting in globally somewhere else. Is that even feasible idea at all?
Well,
Investor giving you money,
Right.
not seeing you. Is it feasible at all?
No.
So there are a lot of
There's a lot of question marks. Absolutely, there's holes. It's why I saw. There's a lot of holes in it, I strongly believe there's a market for it because for a very long time I've been wanting to start something, this. It's only after reading about Amazon and eBay and going to this, just thinking about those three that this just came together. Um,
But I don't. My suggestion to you is, you don't need a partner yet. You need for yourself. I think what Sherrod is telling you is you need for yourself to go inside each of those boxes and start writing your thoughts about how would it work, and keep pushing yourself to define it better and better. See, correct me where I go wrong, right? I think what he's saying to you is, as a broad idea, okay, there's something interesting here. Now you got to take the next step and try to get more and more specific about what are you really talking about here and where does value get created in each of these areas. You're a long way from needing a web page design. You don't need that. You need to be able to articulate.
just basically, what's the value of having this icon or not having at all?
And there could be 50 considerations for each one of those boxes that are up there.
Yeah, to give you an idea to grow with, when I look at products, what does products mean to you? You have to be more detailed. Are you looking at somebody to help you source a product? Are you looking at somebody to help you produce the product? Is it an actual product that you have created in terms of software or startups or any particular kinds? I think they're just saying the idea is good, put more information or foundation under it. And I think you'll be able to see and ask yourself the question, if I have a startup section, why would a startup want to register here? What value could he get? Well, if he gets that registered there, he's going to want investors. What will investors want to look for in a startup? And because all of this is linked together, I hate to use the LinkedIn, but it's a supply chain, or it's an ecosystem is what you have, an environment. You need to see what each of them would bring to the other one and the benefits. And I think once you really map that out, you will have moved down the path of getting closer to making this a reality. Yeah.
How is this different than creating a group on Facebook?
Well, privacy, I would say,
Well, you can make that.
Yeah, you can make it.
Invite all these guys.
honestly, I wouldn't be able to answer this right now because I will have to put thoughts into it.
And that's okay. Don't take questions like that, and you're not being able to answer as being a judgment against what your idea is.
No, of course not.
It's
I take that as a challenge. So
right.
any questions that I haven't answered to myself, I'm welcome them because it's the only way I can have this to be more realized.
This is the time for you to learn, absorb all this, and improvise on your thought process and make it a
Yeah,
So just take constructive.
I am. So
feedback
if you
on
have
it.
more, please.
So it is all meant to encourage you. That there is nothing. If there is any negative thing going on, just exclude that one.
Yeah.
This is all meant to give you some constructive feedback so that you can make it a real.
Yeah, to help you make better choices. Exactly. Yeah.
Not anything else because I really would like to tap into your brains. I'm sure there's a lot of experience there.
Well, let's do that, separately.
Okay.
For today.
Perfect. Yeah,
Well done.
I'm sure you're
Yeah.
exhausted after 5 presentations.
No, it's less than. Oh, do we have another one?
No, I say I'm the last one.
Oh, you're the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Unless you want me to find somebody else.
We actually had people offer to come in. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm sure there's a few that would like to tap into all of your brains. So I can find another one that do another presentation.
You're good. You're good.
For today, Raul, all I would say is I think going with Sherrod, you need more you time right now. You should take away from this, okay, at a big picture level, you've got 3 people nodding saying, okay, I'm with you, I got it, now what?
Yeah, because
What's the value in terms? I got
Yeah.
the idea is there. What's the value behind the idea? How am I gonna get the last one and get everybody to be part of this?
Yeah, and I think also to add on that, what would be unique to what you are doing that you can't do in a Facebook or in a LinkedIn or in a Twitter? you're looking at almost converging 3 different products that are similar. But if you put all 3 together, what's going to make you special that they can do it on here, but they can't do it through a Facebook group or a LinkedIn association or something like that? And those are the questions that once you look at that, write those out, you'll have moved down with a good ways down to where you need to be. So,
And it's doable.
oh yeah, excellent.
In an altogether different category, in athletic footwear and apparel. When Under Armour got started, Nike was Nike already, Adidas was Adidas already, and Reebok was Reebok already. You wouldn't have said there's room
For one more.
for another one. Well, now Reebok is practically off the planet.
Yeah.
You know, and Under Armour is one of the fastest growing companies in the country and has been for many years. So they figured it out.
Well, even Apple before this past reiteration, but when Apple decided to come out with a phone, and they said, we're going to sell more phones, I can show you press releases where people said, why? Why are you going into a dead-end market? Why are you, there's no profit there. And yet it's become one of the main driving forces behind that company growing. Even though it's good with the recent one, but still, it's you can do something unique here. You can break into that, but the step has got to be to put the foundation on.
Find value for what I'm trying to sell.
Right. And if you do that and you realize something that will be unique to what you're doing, that it can't be done in Facebook or the others, then that's when people are really going to start getting excited and say, okay, I see the value. I can see you can do it. I would like that. I'm interested in that. How do we make it happen? Then that's probably the time to look at what's the platform, other things, clothing, and everything else. But the idea has to have merit.
Well done.
Anything else I can take with me? I have to fly back to Miami. It's a long way.
I love it. I love it.
Huh?
This weekend flight in Miami.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Scott,
job.
thanks again.
Excellent.
Keep in
What's
touch.
your name?
Eddie Bender.
Eddie, very nice to meet you. Thank you
Likewise.
so much.
Likewise. Sure.
Sure. Thank you so much for all your input. Thank you.